so deeply sorry I'm late. I'm just gonna hang out for a couple minutes and let people, get in here, answer some questions. How's the new job? The new job is good. I'm kind of having a hard time adjusting to the schedule. My commute is pretty bad. I'm moving in July, so it'll be better when I move, but it's really good. Like when I'm there, I'm like good vibes only. It's totally fine. Like I'm not like counting down the moments to leave, which is good. And I don't have Sunday scaries anymore. I'm not having really bad anxiety in the morning. I used to have horrible anxiety in the morning. How bad is your commute? So on the way there, it takes 20 minutes, more like 30 minutes, but it's not bad at all. Not really any traffic, and it's a pretty drive. But on the way home, it's taking between like 40 to an hour with really bad traffic the whole time. So that's not the vibe in any way, shape, or form. That's not the vibe. Welcome. We're gonna do more education horror story stuff today. I'm always wondering like what's the best way to set this up. I don't have 2 monitors. It's kind of hard to stream when you don't have 2 monitors. Can you find a gym close to work and wait out traffic? I work out. I have a Peloton, so I work out at home in the mornings. But yeah, so what I can do is like the area I work in has a lot of restaurants and has a lot of shopping and stuff like that. So I'm trying to like make plans after work in that area, because then I'm doing something fun and then I don't have to be commuting and all that. Hello from LA. Hi, bestie. I have a love-hate relationship with LA. I should probably be closer to the microphone. Sorry, I always forget I shouldn't be sitting back. I love LA because I love the beach, but I could never live in LA. I'm from Baltimore. I'm from SD. I love San Diego. I actually could live in San Diego. I have some family in San Diego. Do you work in instructional design? No, I work for a real estate brokerage, and I do like behind the scenes office stuff. And I do like trainings. That's a big thing I do. It's like technology support and technology trainings. Look at my skeleton. Wednesdays are my Fridays, and I've been looking forward to your lives every week with a glass of wine. I'm going to cry. I'm crying in the club right now. I know exactly why I'm crying in the club right now. Hello from Atlanta. I might be going to Atlanta soon. Time will tell. Holy fucking shit, there's already 93 people here. How has your experience been starting your new job compared to when you started teaching? Oof. Okay. I was talking about this today. I had a meeting with my manager, and she was like, she's asking me how I feel and how my training's been or whatever, and like, I didn't get any onboarding in teaching. I went to one meeting that was a couple days long. Like it was like a 2-day PD, and like it was really not that helpful. Like stuff they said was relevant, but I didn't know it was relevant just because I didn't know anything. Like it was really bad. Like it was bad. Like I didn't get any onboarding. I had like one meeting with a mentor, and like I just had like literally nothing. Like it was literally just like, here are your keys, here's the pacing guide, good luck. And at this job, everyone's been really, really supportive. So they like gave me a bunch of training modules, and like they have a ton of, basically like I'm doing a lot of shadowing. They're just doing a really good job. But yeah, let me focus and actually get started on this. Oh, fuck. Sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. Okay, so I showed this last time, my selfish region, give people a way to share. I want people outside of education to know, and this is my attempt to hold leaders accountable, live, laugh, love, all of that stuff. So the first thing I want to do is a shout out of shame. This is Prince George County Public Schools. This is like high key, low key messy, like just so you know, like basically this is the school district. You can see there's like their phone number. They're in Maryland. They're kind of in like the DMV area. Prince George County Public Schools. I got a submission a few weeks ago about them, and the person named the district, and then I shared it on here, and then a couple other people from the same district were like, oh, I also teach in this district. This happened to me not this happened to me too, but like something shady happened to me too. I'm literally in Prince George County right now. Like something happened to me too. And they submitted their stories. So I like compiled all of them together. not you straight up calling them out, because like if you don't want people to call you out, don't do bad things. Like, sorry, like, and I'm not calling them out, I'm just like, this is something that happened there. If they feel called out, then maybe they should reflect on their behavior. But anyway, I already shared this story from a few weeks ago, but I'm gonna share it again. I'm laughing because it's of the chat, not because of the story. I want to clarify that. Instead of having an admin present for IEP 504, which is legally required, those are like meetings to decide accommodation plans for students that might have special needs or a learning disability or something where they need some kind of accommodation. Parents all the time, they always, which is legally required, they send in an extra counselor. Parents all the time ask where admin is and the other counselors cover. There's always an on-campus emergency, but there never is. The admins believe they have better things to do with their time. The students with IEPs and 504s are terrified of their counselors. For example, one of my coworkers' students has Tourette's, and one of the tics is yelling foul language. The counselor actively tells the student they are faking it, and last time the counselor reported the student to their AP, assistant principal, and wrote the kid up. They were suspended. The counselor is proud of this and tells people that they fixed the problems because the student saw consequences for lying and acting out. The student still has these tics. The teachers just don't mention it anymore because they don't want the student to get in more disciplinary trouble. The counselors try and take away supports for this student, but because they have sorry, I'm illiterate. The counselors are trying to take away the supports for the student, but they have a doctor diagnosis. This is just one example. It's so bad. So I already shared this one on episode 1, like I said, but it's Prince George County Public Schools. This is the one that made other people start to send in submissions as well. So here's another one, and this person dropped the superintendent's Twitter. I was like, okay, period, drop the Twitter. So my county just unenrolled. Unenrolled basically means like yeeted, like removed. Unenrolled a bunch of students for residency non-compliance in March. Residency non-compliance. Oh, also for people on TikTok, I'm on Twitch live stream. If you want to come here, you can like see the slides and like pictures and memes and all that stuff. Not right now, but there's memes later. So unenrolled due to residency non-compliance basically means like the address you're living at is not zoned for that school essentially. So you're like not supposed to go there because like you don't live in the area that serves that school. So March, after failing to deal with it in the beginning of the school year, we have so many new students. We have a quarter and a half left of schools, and these babies aren't transferring with grades. So tons of these kids are also not coming in with any grades. The teachers weren't told until the night before it happened at like 9 p.m. So like very much messy, very much fucking the students over. Content warning, gun violence on this one. I try and put content warnings on anything that needs a content warning, but if there isn't one and you feel like there should be one, like DM me on Twitter, fill out a Google form, send me an email, something like that. But why would they wait until March? So something I've noticed is a lot of times like the school is supposed to do something by a certain day. Like they're supposed to have all this enrollment stuff dealt with by like 2 weeks into the school year. A lot of like, I'm making this up, but that's like a common parameter. A lot of times what ends up happening is this like school site administrators just like either don't do it, forgot about it, whatever. And it doesn't happen, and then the district does an audit later, so then they'll do it and backtrack the paperwork. There were dozens of times that I was asked to sign documents that had wrong dates on them. Like they would be like, oh, sign saying you attended this meeting on this day and we'll just do the meeting right now. And I was like, no, that's literally fraud. So that's kind of, I guess, how that's happening. In my opinion, that's what seems the most likely. Okay, so Greenbelt, Maryland, I've talked about them before, Prince George County Public Schools. A few weeks ago, a student at my school was shot and killed no more than a football field away from our school. Multiple students witnessed this event. Crisis counseling from the county was only offered the next day, and those students who watched it happen understandably were not there. My mom is a teacher at this school, and she told me the principal announced what happened to the teachers 5 minutes before first period started on what she described as Wi-Fi hooked up through a toaster oven. He was in his office on the Zoom call, and the connections were so bad the teachers had to figure out what happened on their own in the Zoom chat feature. The county sent all teachers a statement to read about the event, but they didn't fill in the student's name. The statement still said, insert student's name here, which like, how the fuck could you put that and hit send? How could any human adult send that statement without filling the name in? Like, I could never hit send on that. And like, I've hit send on some pretty stupid shit, and I could never do that. Then last week, about 200 students, that's the number I heard, may not be accurate, were unenrolled from their schools because of residency non-compliance issues. I don't know if this is the same school as the other one. They didn't give the school name, they just gave the district name, so it could be the same school, or it could be that this is a issue like across the district. I have no idea. If anyone does, let me know. It's March. How did they not realize this before? This is making me think there's like an audit. It happens everywhere all the time. Yeah. This didn't happen a ton in my school just because the district I worked in wasn't that strict about residency requirements, so they just like didn't really care. But yeah. It's March. How did they not realize this before? How is yanking my classmates out of their school home at this point in the school year going to help anyone? How is that the best interest of the child? I love learning and want to be a teacher just like my mom when I grow up. But how am I, as a student, supposed to trust the people sort of protect me and my peers when this is the kind of thing that happens all the time? I love kids. God. Okay. Another one from the same district. This is like the part 2 of it. Like there's more things, but it's the same person. So my school is a STEM. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. Someone tell me if that was wrong. Is considered the best school in the county. I hear stories from my friends that go to other schools and honestly can't tell you why anyone would want to work here. Besides the guilt trips our teachers must feel for leaving the students who don't have another option. That's why my mom is still here. She cries in her car every single day during lunch. Give your mom a hug, please. Thank you. I have a wild special ed subbing story. Yeah, I am always interested. Any stories? The link, I'll do it at the end, but the link is in my bio on Twitch and on TikTok and Twitter, and like it's everywhere. Okay. She cries in her car every single day during lunch because she knows that if she reaches out for support from admin or counseling, they're probably not going to do anything or might make it worse. This is the part that got me the worst. They've been known to write kids up for manifestations of disability, call ICE, that is like immigration, that is like the people that arrest immigrants and do terrible things. Like that's them, that's ICE, on kids or their families, and straight up call the cops for things that should barely elevate to administration on a first offense. My mom says she will deal with behaviors in her classroom long past the point of when she would usually call admin for help because she doesn't want them to suffer the consequences beyond what they should be for making poor decisions when they're teenagers. So this is kind of the crazy thing to me about education right now is like I get a lot of these stories, and I get stories that are like my administrators do terrible things, my administrators are so harsh on the kids are getting arrested all the time. Like I get tons of stories of schools that are really overly harsh, and then I also get tons of stories of people that are like, this student assaulted me and no one did anything about it. So I feel like, where is the text quality super blurry for anyone else? Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm streaming off of a MacBook, so I'm like not having the highest of quality setups. Deepest apologies about that. I can try and make it a little bigger. There we go. Hopefully that helped a little bit. So we have this like duality of like a lot of schools and districts are doing fucking nothing, and then that's a really big problem because it's putting teachers in a precarious position. And then a lot of school districts are doing way too fucking much and being overly harsh and horrible, and that's also putting teachers in a really precarious position. So it's like, for those of you on TikTok live right now, on Twitch, you can see my slides and there's some memes and stuff. This is an admin from this county. This is an administrator from Prince George County Public Schools. This happened a few years ago, but I've heard of it happening in other schools as well. We have the only voting student member on the school board in the entire, I think they meant county, which we are super proud of. So sometimes, where'd you get your slides from? Slides go. Sometimes school boards will have a kid on them. My district didn't do anything like this. I think it's kind of a good idea. It can work well. Sometimes they will have a kid on them, like on the school board, to represent like kids. So I'm guessing that's what's happening here. The school board uses him as a spy. Are we surprised? I'm not. He literally has a whole period off to observe teachers and report back to the school board on how they're doing. This is crazy. I hope this kid's getting paid. Also, I feel bad for the kid because, like, wait, I'm from Prince George in Virginia? Yes, that one. No, in Maryland. This county's in Maryland. I feel bad for the kid because, like, they're a kid. They're not going to say no to the school board, and, like, they're being a little narc, but it's not their fault. They're a kid. After he observed a teacher friend of mine, someone from the curriculum office emailed the teacher and told them that lecturing ever was inexcusable. That's been told to me. many times that we can't lecture, and meant they were an ineffective teacher. That teacher is now on the evaluation list and gets surprise observations by county people all the time. The student school board member had the teacher they had observed and gotten to be in the class and made it their mission to get that teacher removed from the classroom. I don't think I feel bad for the kid anymore. I know this because they came to me and complained about the teacher all the time. The teacher was teacher of the year before and now happily works in another county because of the situation. Also, our school system attorney quit in the middle of the school board meeting over the summer, and then there's this article about it. What is this? Why did I put this in here? Okay, so this is an article about the situation. Let me send it in the chat really fast. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. It's really long, but if anyone wants it. There it is. Okay, so this is from an administrator of that county, which is crazy. So this is they don't have a superintendent. They call her a chief executive officer, so a CEO, which like the CEO of a school doesn't really sit right with me. You know it's bad when admin is talking about it to you. Yeah, if you're an administrator and Miss Redacted is your best bet, like that's how you know we're down fucking bad. That is how you know we are down bad, is if Miss Redacted is your best source to get change done and you're a literal administrator. Also, it surprises no one that PG County has an overwhelming black population. This is not the only thing that county does that's messed up. Yeah, so I didn't look up like the demographics of this, but my mom actually grew up in this area, and that's what she told me. And that's another thing that I've noticed is that a lot of times counties and schools that serve students of color like do so many shady and unethical things. Like it's really, really crazy. I know it happens in lots of communities that shady and unethical things happen, but yeah, it's not surprising that a district that is serving an overwhelmingly black population is not serving them in an effective way because of, racism. Okay, so good. My computer is doing the, go away. My computer sounds like a spaceship, so that's good. We're gonna get to the rest of everybody's submissions now. Also, my views have been going like up, down like crazy. Like normally they stay kind of consistent and they're literally fluctuating so much right now. All right, so Sarasota High School. This is the high school. It's in Sarasota, Florida. Love Sarasota, Florida. So when someone said, I'm so depressed, she has a boyfriend. I'm sorry. Your computer is exercising. Stay healthy, girl. Yeah, it's not good. I need a better computer. So went to high school in Sarasota, Florida at Sarasota High School. We had the option to take online classes through something called FLVS. That's Florida Virtual Virtual School. And the school let us take online classes in person in the library at the computers for one period. A lot of schools in Florida do this. I did this my senior year. The librarian was our teacher who just took attendance and was the designated adult in the room. He quit about 3 weeks in and announced it's because he was treated horribly by admin. They bring in one of the security to be the interim person and eventually hire a new guy. This man was older than dust and the prime definition of a boomer. Eventually, once he got comfy in his position, he decided to exert his power over kids because he had nothing better to do. This started as an overbearing presence of don't do anything but stare at the screen, which we could deal with, but it got so much worse that admin had to be informed. This one's a multi-parter. He went up to, trigger warning racism. I meant to put that in here. I'm sorry. Your Mac is doing their best. Yeah, my Mac is doing her best. He went up to 2 girls, one Asian, one Hispanic, and called them, not going to say that word, and Maria 5 names, which is fucked up. If you don't know, a lot of Latin American countries, like they structure their name differently. So there's like more words in there than a lot of like people not from one of those cultures would be used to. Where was I? When he straight up said, yo, when I straight up said, yo, what did he just say? Because the entire room was stunned. He said, they're young, small girls. What are they going to do? Report me? They're too scared of somebody my size to even consider that. It's like you said something terrible and then you somehow made it worse. Like you could have said nothing and you said a terrible thing. And then instead of being like, hey, that was really fucked up, you somehow just made it even worse. I was going to say doubled down, but not even doubling down, just literally making it worse. Yeah, be terrible, then double down. This one has a lot of parts to it. All right. I went straight to the principal after class, as he and I were somewhat close due to interactions at different events. He was shocked and told me to explain in detail to one of our 5 vice principals, specifically one named Mr. Chase. Is that normal? Could you address that? Yeah, it's pretty normal to have a lot of vice principals if you're in a big school, or even a medium school. So with the help of a friend, I wrote down all the insane things. How are you a grown man threatening teenagers? Yeah, it's literally so embarrassing. So with the help of a friend, I wrote down all the insane things he had done in addition to what I already mentioned. One instance personal to me was him screaming at me after I begged him not to, as I am diagnosed PTSD twinsies. He laughed in my face and said he'd give me something to be scared of. Jesus Christ. Arrest this man. I got called into the office and was told by Mr. Chase that on no uncertain terms, if I did not stop harassing the teacher, Mr. Chase, no, that's like the opposite. You got it all wrong, my dude. You got it all wrong. Ooh. If I did not stop harassing the teacher in question by reporting him to admin, I'd be suspended, and he'd personally send these records to my colleges, making admissions harder. Nothing happened to him all year. The school simply did not renew his contract, which in my opinion is not the same thing as firing him. They still let him work there for months after this happened. Yeah, that's not the same thing as firing somebody. Yes, Twitch link is in my bio. Thanks, peace and love. Okay, so this only happened because of this happens so often. Yeah, it's so depressing. This only happened because of another situation where he decided to prey on a staff member at the time. He prevented the ACE coordinator. I think that's how you say it. I put a description at the bottom. It's basically like an advanced program with like harder classes, and you can get a special diploma. Where was I? He prevented the ACE coordinator from getting materials from a storeroom, claiming she was not the coordinator because he did not believe a woman would be put in her position. What the fuck? I skim these before I put them on here because I want to like be reading them for the first time. So I skim them, and so I did not notice that part. Like sometimes I'll notice certain things, but imagine being at work. You're at work and you're like, oh fuck, I work at this fucking school to go get these supplies out of the closet and coordinate all this shit. You're probably in charge of like way too many kids. You go to this closet and all you need is like highlighters or whatever. And then this guy is like, I don't think they would let a woman be a coordinator for this program. So no, I won't give you the highlighters. Like, the way I would assault him, just kidding. This is an anti-violent account. Unfortunately, for this 5'7" of a Lorax impersonator, if I could submit pictures, I would. This man really did have the look. Oh my God. The coordinator at the time was the original girl boss. I'm not sure how tall this woman was, but I am 6'3" and had to look up to her when she was in flats, and most days she wore heels. What a bad bitch. I love her. Imagine being 6'3" and wearing heels. I'm 5'1", so I just can't even imagine like towering over anybody like that. Living that I just got done with my finals, and then I listened to Adults Being Dumb. I'm obsessed with this. It's like, what's his name? Patrick Star with the... I'm obsessed. Where are y'all getting that? I'm such a boomer. Tall Girl Slay. Hit him with that 5'10" slay. Where was I? I was not there for this interaction, but I was a student in the ACE physics the previous year, and she is someone I would communicate with frequently, and she told us the story. Basically, she screamed at him for a solid 20 minutes, and his response was to leave in the middle of the school day. Bro can dish it out, but not take it. You know who I want to meet this sub, or this, whoever this man is, whatever his title is? You know who needs to meet them? Drew on TikTok. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. Afulo, I think. That's who needs to be around this sub. The way that education is such a female-dominated field, and that men are still shocked when women are in power. I think like 80% of superintendents are men or something fucking crazy like that. Material Patrick would never discriminate. Material Patrick. Okay, so his response was to leave in the middle of the school day. HR got involved, and while she wasn't off the hook, his sexist comments and her super high position made sure she was basically fine. He wasn't allowed to talk to her. if she ever came to do business in the library again. Still didn't get fired, though. I was torn on the worst part of this story, but on top of everything so far, it should be noted that Mr. Chase left his position as a VP to become a middle school principal the next school year. So the same motherfucker that was like, you're harassing your teacher because you're upset that they yelled at you, which, like, make it make sense. Now they're a principal. Perfect. We love districts rewarding terrible behavior. Unrelated side note, not unrelated in my opinion. After I graduated, me and some coworkers went to a pub near our job after a shift, and he was there. He was beyond intoxicated and was screaming a variety of bigoted comments at us, and thankfully the bartenders knew us well and had him removed. Last I heard, he was working at the initial drop-off baggage area for Tampa International Airport. So if your bag gets lost at the Tampa airport, it is this man's fault. Yeah, I'm not an affiliate yet, sorry. I don't stream enough. I need to do a better job of streaming more consistently. Sorry. Duval County, Florida, that's Jacksonville. So I had a student curse me out in class when complaining to the principal. He said, if you were my daughter, I would tell you to woman up. This was when I was 21 in my first year teaching. No. Okay, anonymous from North Carolina. Girl, I've been waiting to talk to someone about teaching. I graduated in 2020. Oh, so glad that I graduated before that, and I really feel bad for y'all. Love the bartenders doing more than the admin. That's so true. I didn't even think about that. I literally did not even think about that. Most bartenders are way more trustworthy than admin. Because when bartenders scream at you, they apologize. That is the key difference. And started teaching and realized that what we have been led to believe, that the current state of education wasn't as bad as it was when we were in teacher prep. My kids and administrators were horrible. Other teachers kept telling me it was normal, and I was like, there's no way. Mini background, I was the only black female teacher at a school where the general population was like 60% black, 30% other people of color, and 10% white, but the administration and staff were like 98% white. Ugh, that's awkward. Myself, the janitors, and the coaches were the only black staff. From day one, I was targeted by administration. My assistant principal lied on my evaluation and said the lesson I taught had no standard-based practices, and then railroaded into a post-observation with him and the principal without telling my mentor. They put me on what was essentially a monitored plan where I had to have my lesson plan signed by a mentor and emailed to all admin by Thursday morning at 7 of each week. I was on a coaching cycle my first year as well. It's basically when like they observe you and they're like, you're ugly, we hate you, and you're stupid. So now we're going to come observe you way more often and give you homework and tell you what to do. I kind of deserved it, so I'm not going to say that coaching cycles are inherently bad, but I have noticed that they are often used as intimidation and to be shady. I did, however, deserve it, personally. After I told my mentor, she stated that no one in the history of the school had ever been put on an administrative plan like I had. When she spoke up, they replaced her as my mentor. Of course they did. Live, laugh, love. My new mentor demanded SMART goals. SMART, it's like an acronym. I can't remember what it stands for. SMART goals be added to this plan, and the principal outright refused and admitted that she couldn't set a goal for my progress because she didn't have any idea of what that looked like. On top of that, my original mentor was my department head and had suggested which English classes I teach based on my experience. And my principal disregarded her suggestions and gave me 2 preps. That basically means 2 different classes. How long have you been streaming? I don't know, like 30 minutes? All of the kids she gave me were students with behavioral issues or students with 50... Oh, I almost just knocked over the ring light. Students with 504s and IEPs. Despite me not having experience with that or modifications or accommodations in my internship, she didn't try to explain what any of it meant. That also happened to me. I had no training at all. Someone said, I want to know if she read my story or not. I saved these, so if you want to go back and see the part that you missed, it'll be on there. So I ended up being thrust into IEP evaluation meetings every week. As a result, a good portion of my students had a probation officers or were in foster care, and I wasn't trained on how to accommodate for them. The worst part of the whole thing is that the staff in the county knew how terrible my principal was, and all they were hoping is that she would retire. Plot twist, she didn't, so I resigned and went to another school. Not to mention, she also passed every student that should have failed. My student made us raise every failing grade to a 50 minimum. The state made us, not my student made us, sorry. The state made us. She went behind my final grades and passed all the kids, even the kid that had a 0 to the one that had a 4. They also did nothing about my write-ups for threats and students hitting each other. Everyone acted like it was normal. Ooh. Content warning, this one's rough. Harassment, conservatives, mental illness, discrimination, lots and lots and lots of things. So, very rural county near Charlottesville, Virginia. I have too many details to put them all in one place. I saw so many things in my time in public schools, I could talk forever. Here's the biggie. After pouring my heart and soul into an elementary music program for 6 years, all the exemplary teacher evaluations, tons of extra hours for no pay, concerts, rehearsals, extracurricular ensembles. I'm kind of stupid. I don't know. An ensemble. Is that how you say that? I was run out of my... I was wondering if she had enabled Nightbot. I don't know what that is. I was run out of my school community by conservative parents who enacted a witch hunt against me. I was able to put in the time and effort because I loved my kids and wanted them to have the best possible experiences, but I'm incredibly angry and jaded to know the complete amnesia parents started to feel. They sent screenshots of anything they could find that I said online to the superintendent, harassed my personal contacts to give them screenshots of my private account, asked admin to pull their kids from my class, they obliged, and harassed me online. They resulted in me getting a formal letter of reprimand, which my admin questioned my mental fitness for teaching after I had just applied for accommodations for my mental illness. They repressed my free speech in private online and took everything I spent 6 years building because I dared to be in the union and advocate for basic safety protocols. When we were in person pre-vaccine, icing on the cake during Teacher Appreciation Week, one of them sent me a bag of penis-shaped candies with a note that said, "Eat a bag of dicks. Jail." They also sent this box to my work at an elementary school. Imagine being a whole adult. Imagine being a whole adult, buying a bag of plastic dicks and sending it to an elementary school. Like, you need court-mandated therapy. What is wrong with you? Here's this person's socials as well. And did nothing to correct, I work at an elementary school and did nothing to correct or address the parent behavior in this way. I should not have to tolerate sexual harassment at work to do what I love. Exactly. This is fucking crazy. Nightbot lets you run simple commands. Uptime tells you how long. Oh. Cool. There isn't a lot of normal Twitch chat here. Yeah, that's my goal. Parents are psychos, yeah. So this is someone from TikTok. There's their @Sean Mickey, I don't know. So I taught high school Spanish for 4 years in 2 different schools before I left. The first school I taught at was actually where I attended high school. I have very mixed feelings about that. I would never do that personally, but I could see why some people want to. The first school I taught at was where I attended high school. My coworkers were all amazing, but administration was awful. Admin had a reputation for disrespecting younger teachers. Blech. They forced me to teach in 4 different classrooms, Jesus, in 3 different years, and during the last year I was there, I was moved away from my department and completely isolated. That can really affect you. That can really, really affect you. Being isolated from your coworkers can really affect your teaching and your vibes and all that. I feel like my hair looks weird because it's kind of wet, and I feel like I just don't like it right now. You know what I mean? Not having a good time with it. Where was I? I taught in the technology woodshop hallway and did not have the same lunch as the other teachers in my department. The world language department was also given an ENL class. That means English as a new language. During my second year, that was pitched to us as a supported study hall. So meaning, in my opinion, if you said supported study hall, I would think that means like study hall for the kids to work on the work from this one specific class, and if they have a question, I can answer it. Like, that's what I would think that means, you know? Apparently not, according to these administrators. Knowing this, I willingly took on the students. I was told 2 days before the semester started that this course required me to teach full lesson plans, bell to bell. When I put my foot down about how the class was pitched and the unreasonable turnaround, admin did not do much to support me. I've seen this happen so much, where they'll be like, oh, it's this one thing, easy breezy, beautiful, so easy. And then later they're like, it's actually hard as fuck and we need it done by tomorrow, and if you don't do it, you're fired because you already agreed to it. And then you're just like, okay, that's fine, I guess. Perfect. Where'd I go? I was forced to obtain emergency licensure and teach the course for 2 years. I was also placed in charge of writing and updating students' ILPs. I don't know what that is. which are legal documents outlining accommodations for English language learners without having any prior training in doing so and not given additional prep time to dedicate to supporting ELLs. That's crazy. Part 2, I had to take time out of my Spanish prep time, the only course I was actually trained and licensed to teach. To do this, my mental health began to decline, and it was the final year at this school I decided I no longer wanted to teach and began to pursue other routes. My student services director never backed me up in the matters of discipline or student academic matters either. I had a student at the end of last year who shouldn't have made it to my dual credit Spanish 3 course. That's like dual enrollment, I think, like very higher ed. I'm reading teacher horror stories and education horror stories that people submitted to me. Join Twitch if you want to see my slides and stuff. I've had no water today. I lost my place, but had moved on simply because of the impact COVID had on the 2 school years prior. Did my best to support the student and give extra help. He had the same study hall hour as me, and he was in my room for extra help every day. He simply did not have the solid foundation that the full 2 years of hard work and study in levels 1 and 2 should have given him. He was going to get a D. I've seen this so often where they will put kids in classes that are not the appropriate level for the kid, and then it has a really negative impact on the kid's self-esteem and GPA and their thoughts and feelings about school. I've seen that happen so often where kids that are like BC students get put in these AP classes and then become F students overnight, and it's crazy to me. Which is not allowed to get the Indiana Academic Honors Diploma, and the counselor told him that he could make up the credit online over the summer, so he gave up and failed the last 2 exams due to not answering half the questions, which eventually caused him to get an F. The administrator came in and questioned all my methods and asked about why he wasn't going to pass, insinuating that I hadn't done enough to get him to pass. I later moved schools to take a job closer to family, and the student behavior at this school made my mental health deteriorate even faster. Oh no. My computer's breathing again. The school did not hire another Spanish teacher position that was vacant. I was forced to teach courses that I was not initially promised. This school also did all subbing internally, and my school was an internal sub school for the most part. And I frequently lost my prep time to covering other classes, several of which had severe behavior problems. In one class I subbed for, I saw a fight almost break out, the kids throwing things at each other and swearing at each other. I finally earned my master's degree this past November of 2021 and was able to find a new role in higher education, which is where I now work. I love being able to work with students, and higher ed has allowed me to continue to do so while not being in the classroom, and my mental health has significantly improved. It's brutal out here. It is a brutal out here. God. Okay, this was anonymous. On the morning announcements, the principal reminded kids not to use profanity, fine, or take the Lord's name in vain. This is a public school. I hate this. I hate prayer in school. I hate talking about God in school. I hate talking about the Bible in school unless it's like from a historical perspective. People do this all the time, and it pisses me off so much. It's a public school. We have separation of church and state. Okay, Virginia, I know, quite the hot topic state with our new governor proposing school choice. I don't know a ton about that. One of my goals is to be better versed on like education policy, but if anyone knows what's going on with that. Also, is Virginia misspelled? That looks wrong to me. Whatever. In 2015, I became a homeless/abandoned youth. I was hopping from home to home and eventually ended up staying with my boyfriend's family, getting enrolled in school for my junior year and senior years. The high school was such a mess that it ended up causing some admins and teachers to be shady. I've been shady for kids. Essentially, our school systems are set up for students with residencies. They are not set up for all students. I was a high-achieving student at a fairly small school. Therefore, I had a really well-established relationship with teachers and admins. Therefore, they were willing to appeal to the school board and do some shady dealings in order to keep me in school. I've also seen this where, like, high-achieving kids, like, who are advocating for themselves can sometimes get the support they need, but it makes you wonder how many more kids are not in this situation, or how many more kids are in this situation that we don't know about, that we don't hear about. You know what I mean? That's what's like the crazy part to me. Oh wait, no, come back. My parent was nowhere to be found, and therefore they weren't able to sign any of the waiver and legal paperwork. My boyfriend's family was unable to do anything due to guardianship not being an option in my state. So I was floating, abandoned youth with no true permanent residency and no parent. I want to give you a hug. Where was I? I would have easily dropped out of school if it wasn't for admins and teachers going to the board and requesting a waiver along with some shady dealings and being able to keep me in school. With that being said, I'd love to discuss how stupid the situation was and talk about what policies need to change in order to better assist abandoned and homeless youth in our school systems. I'd also just like to highlight a situation in which policies put teachers and admins in a hard place because they wanted to serve me as a student, but the policy was preventing that from happening. It was a situation that highlighted just how many policies are put in place that don't consider what's best for students and instead what's best to keep a school district from getting sued. That part right there. God. Monroe County, Indiana was actively discouraged by my CT, I think that's coordinating teacher, during my practicum, I think that's like student teaching, during my practicum to not pursue teaching because of my disabilities. That's horrible and ableist. So New Jersey, this person said, trust me, there are rural places, public school of less than 300 K through 8. Hey there, thank you for giving us all a place to vent. Love you. You're welcome. On to my story. I'm a first-year teacher. Literally, I've been teaching for 6 months now. Love my kids, love my content, love my co-teachers. I'm a middle school science teacher. Love to think of myself as being Miss Frizzle. Loud, happy, always doing experiments with my students. Cute and fun. On to the bad part. There's no teacher dress code formally in my school, but that doesn't stop there from being expectations. Fine, I'm good. I dress in professional pants and a nice shirt, sweater, blouse, whatever. During my first month of teaching, my principal made a comment about my top. I think they mean my top being too low and said, you know those middle school boys. I was shocked. I'm a pretty conservative dresser. Thank you, crappy self-esteem. But I have a large chest and am curvy. I'm by far the youngest in a very small 30-teacher district. 30-teacher district? Oh my God. I'm sure that gossip is a lot. Like, not a lot. Like, I'm sure it's infrequent, but it's like dramatic when it happens. 30-teacher district. Sorry, I can't get past that. And anytime I wear something remotely fashionable or young, I get passive-aggressive comments from my principal. Christmas leggings with a cardigan covering my butt. Oh, festive, but not professional. Dress shows off my figure too much. Heels, I'm trying too hard. Jegging professional pants are too tight. I'm 23. I want to dress like I'm 23. My kids could care less what I wear. If anything, they need a role model on how to appropriately dress, and me being constantly ridiculed, sometimes in front of them. Ugh, that's tough. In front of them? Degrades my position as their teacher and shows them that they will be judged on their appearance. I'm the only teacher this happens to. I'm convinced it's because I'm young. My principal is trying to break me, or she is weird and missing youth. Fortunately, I do have a supportive union. I've written down all the incidences, and we are potentially building the case against my female principal. My district just settled a sexual harassment suit ago. This is toxic culture. I made a meme about the situation. I'm sorry if this is your story and I hurt your feelings by making a meme about like your trauma. I'm hoping that you're kind of like down with that if I'm the type of person that you watch. I also went straight to teaching my own classes from a retail worker with no experience at all. Yeah, literally. I was working at a hotel and a restaurant before I became a teacher. But I'm gonna take a second. You all can look at this meme, and I want to catch up with the chat a little bit. There's a girl on TikTok who keeps getting dress coded as a student teacher, and her outfits are completely it's fine. I think I know who you're talking about. She has like a really happy voice, and she has done like hair videos before. I think I know who you're talking about. I subbed in middle and high school. It was so hard coming from a part-time college retail student. She's so cute and goes traveling all the time. She reminds me a lot of my friend, actually. LOL, love being a teacher. The pledge, under God, no. Under God was added, like, way later. Please comment on my long short story in the chat. Need to know your thoughts. Let me find it. I'm sorry. I saw you drop it, and then I lost it. My long short story, subbed a self-contained special ed class, very high needs, with 0 sub plans, and everyone who was typically in the room were all absent that day. All support for the day was left clueless and overwhelmed. Damn. Hi, new to streams, but I love your TikToks. Hey, bestie. The crazy song? Yeah. Okay, content warning, assault, and men. This is from Iowa. I was a first-year teacher right out of college teaching middle school. One day I was walking down the hall, had a male student choked me in the hallway. Jesus Christ. I reported him to administration, and they just removed him from my class, which is what he wanted. After realizing the school wasn't going to do anything, I went to the police to file charges. A few days later, I was walking past the school office, and a former teacher of mine, who is now an assistant superintendent, asked me to come talk to him for a minute. I followed him because we had a rapport, and I trusted him. having an administrator who's close to you or has an established relationship to you be the one to reprimand you is something that I experienced as well. It's a very common. I know so many people that this has happened to, but this also happens in other industries. This did happen to me when I was working at a hotel as well. Superintendent, 2 assistant superintendents. Oh, wait, hold on. I skipped a sentence. I followed him because we had a rapport. I trusted him. In the office was the entire district staff of men, superintendent, 2 assistant superintendents, principals, and assistant principal. They proceeded to intimidate me and ask if I was sure if I wanted to press charges and I should think about what I was doing. I ended up dropping the charges and then received a bad observation and evaluation. Damn, you dropped the charges and they still gave you the bad observation? Dickheads. Like, you don't have to rub it in. I left the district at the end of the school year. It was terrible. That's fucking crazy. That a student literally assaulted you, and then a room of men was like, do not tell the police. Oh, God. Okay, this one is anonymous. I had a student walk out during district benchmark. That's like testing. Because he was crying because his dad had... Oh, this is trigger warning too. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting some of the trigger warnings on here. I'm the worst. I should just put a trigger warning on this entire thing. Just this entire content should have trigger warning. Will you post this on YouTube again? Yes. I'm going to try and do it tonight, but it takes like 9 fucking years to upload, so we'll see if it happens. It might be tomorrow. Okay, let me focus. Trigger warning, violence. I had a student walk out during a district benchmark because he was crying because his dad had beaten him the night before, and dad got taken to jail. You can put it in your title. Thank you. My student worried if he got a restraining order, he would have to quit school to work and support his family because his dad couldn't. I've seen so many kids be in a position like this, and it's horrifying. His dad couldn't. He has 5 siblings and an expecting mother. Jesus, he's a fantastic athlete. Obviously, I did all I could to help as a teacher. Obviously, his scores were not good. Testing is the last thing on anyone's mind that day. As a teacher in a tested subject, I'm still held responsible for that test score. The story isn't unique, unfortunately. High school students deal with this stuff constantly, and teachers are expected to teach through it. When I voice these opinions to my district and state, I've been told you should just make sure your growth is greater and hear other students to make up for the students who don't do well. I cry constantly from the pressure and stress of data and testing and being held to impossible standards. The fact that the people analyzing my data have little classroom experience, much less a basic understanding of statistics, makes me want to quit. It's so frustrating. I was taught in school Maslow before Bloom, referring to Maslow's hierarchy of needs before Bloom's taxonomy. Basically, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is like you have to like be physically okay, mentally okay, like all these things. Like if you're not physically okay, you can't have emotional fulfillment. So like you have to deal with certain things before you can get to learning and stuff like that is basically what they're saying. Yet when I support my students' basic human needs over their test scores, I am punished. So this one really, really struck home with me because of a lot of reasons. So one, I taught a tested area and my students were tested with district assessments about once a month. It was incredibly stressful for me. My first year teaching, I actually blacked out from anxiety. It happened 3 different times. Thankfully, I was at home every time it happened. But I literally was like working or analyzing data and just like got dizzy and blacked out for a second because I was so anxious, which is like not normal or okay. And it like, I hate how much I started to see kids as numbers. Like I had all their test scores memorized, and like if they were upset about something, once a month feels excessive. Yeah, I agree. If they were upset about something, like if they were in a situation like this, sometimes my first thought would be like, oh fuck, now their data's gonna be bad. And I would hate myself so much for thinking that. I'm like trying to be empathetic towards myself because it's like the pressure that made me think that way, not like who I am as a person. But yeah, it's like, that's part of why I left. I was like turning into somebody I didn't recognize or like. But the testing, the amount of pressure they put on teachers is really insane. Like my first test scores that I had, like the first 2 months that I taught, my test scores were bad. So I got formally observated by the district once a week for the entire day. They had a district person in my classroom for the whole day, once a week. And they would like do my planning period with me, and they were like, oh, it's support because your scores are low, we're here to help you. But like that's not what it feels like. It feels like I'm like under a microscope because that's what it was. And like I got my scores up relatively quickly, so then they kind of left me alone. And I will say, the person from the district that was put in my room, She was really nice. It was still an awkward interaction, and it was still like the dynamic was intimidating for me, but I actually really like her, and she did help me a lot. But it was just like, that's nerve-wracking to have someone from the district with you all the time. Was it an instructional coach? It was a content specialist. I think that was her title. I don't remember. So yeah, it was like after a couple months, I had like a rapport with her, so it was like fine. But in the beginning, it was scary because like I didn't know her. I didn't know like how evaluations worked. I didn't know if this is someone that like could get me in trouble. I just didn't know, and no one really like explained it to me in a way that was understandable. Yeah, it was bad. Okay, moving on. A major city, that's all I'll say because I'm still cashing checks. Good for you. I teach middle school dance for reference. I was teaching movement and a student set my classroom on fire. Okay. That's concerning. Oh my God, so many more people are on TikTok now. If you want to go to Twitch, it's in my bio. You can see slides on there. So a student lit their classroom on fire. Perfect. The student brought a lighter to school and set a bottle of hand sanitizer on fire. I noticed the fire right away and put it out with a fire extinguisher that I luckily knew how to use. There was another fire set in the boys' bathroom that day. Ask me if anything has been done about it. Not a thing. It's been 2 months and the kid didn't even get detention. The behavior in my school is out of control because admin doesn't hold students accountable for their actions. I was already going to quit teaching after this year, but this reassured me that I'm making the right decision. This is crazy. Students literally setting stuff on fire. Admin. For those of you on TikTok right now, you're missing out on a meme. There's a meme on Twitch, but you can't see it because you're on TikTok and not Twitch. Love you though. Thanks for being here. Glad you can hear everything. I wish you could see it though. But yeah, the link's in my link tree. It's my first year teaching, and I was in all remediation classes, so stressed about my kids passing standardized tests that they take this week. It's going to be okay. Try not to stress about it too much. I know that's like literally the least useful thing of all time, but try, I guess. Kids made an actual Molotov. Geez. I feel like teachers at my schools always had the power to give us detention. Is this not the case? So at my school, we didn't have detention because we were like too short-staffed. Like there was no one to do detention, so like I couldn't give detention because we just didn't have detention. So I think it just really depends on the school. Oh my gosh, so many more people just joined. I guess you're all coming from TikTok. Hi, welcome. Here's the meme. I waited for you. You're welcome. Oh, such a good teacher. Waited for you even though you were late. I look crazy right now. I look so pale. I want to go outside. It's almost summer. Not all schools have detention. My high school just had in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension. Yeah. Thank you. I was waiting for someone to compliment the meme. I appreciate that. It's actually not even that good of a meme, but I was proud of it. This is also from Iowa. I was assaulted by my teacher's brother. Hold on. What? I was assaulted by my teacher's brother. In order for us to give detention, we have to personally host it in our classroom. Oh my God. I'm still stuck on I was assaulted by my teacher's brother. I need so much more information. Okay. And when I said something, both nothing happened besides being allowed to change my schedule, and she tried to fail me. I literally got a D in a required class because looking at her reminded me of what happened. This is confusing. I don't know if this person knows what they meant. Possibly family ties in the building. Yeah, I'm confused about this one. The writing was very unclear. I'm sorry. Okay, this is from Texas. I got a job as a teacher in a small town, and they make you go to trainings before your first day. And at one of the at one training, the superintendent forced everyone to pray before lunch with him. Why? Why would you do that when you would just not fucking do that? Like, it made us hold hands and bow our heads and everything. Because Texas, oh my God. The way I would not participate, the way that in this session I would become such a menace to religion in Texas. I understand if you didn't though, because you're like in an awkward position and you're a new teacher, so you don't, like, now's not the time to take a stand if you're thinking about your own self-interest. You know, I get it. We've all been there. It's not hard to not bring religion into public schools. Yeah, if anything, I feel like it's harder to bring religion into public schools. But speaking of schools, like we've been doing this the whole time, look at my shirt. I bought this in the teenage boys section of Marshalls a couple weeks ago because I thought it was funny and I was kind of like in a bad mood and it made me laugh, so I just bought it because that's how my brain works. That's why I have so many clothes right now, or so many t-shirts. Live, laugh, love. Look at my skeleton. Oh, wrong way. Yeah. It's so hard because I'm backwards. Skeleton. Okay. I have one brain. Just me. Okay, Mississippi. During a parent-teacher conference, a parent was expressing their frustration because the child is not making progress in their reading ability despite all the extra work the family is putting in at home and the multiple forms of intervention the child is receiving at school. She's just not getting it. The child shows behavior similar to dyslexia or some other language processing disorder, so my co-teacher suggests that we screen the child to see if she's struggling with an undiagnosed learning disability. We love teachers giving good suggestions. We love that. The counselor at my school pulled my co-teacher aside and told her not to let families know we offer those screening services because it costs the district money. It's fucking almost like the district is supposed to serve the community. It's almost like we pay taxes so that they have money to serve the community. I'm not even anti-taxes. I'm just anti, like, us not using taxes for good things. They cost money. Yeah, everything costs money. It's your job. Like, it costs money to do things. Like, literally everything costs money. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's still your job to do it. It costs money to put gas in the car. I still have to do that for my car to go. Like, that's just a part of the fucking thing, is spending money. There's a teacher in my department who puts a ton of super religious books in our free library. The books are mostly about the world and everyone going to hell or straight up Bibles. That's actually insane. We're taxed more heavily in the U.S. than in Europe, and we still can't pay for shit. Our taxes pay for the military-industrial complex and nothing else. Haha. I hate when people treat schools like they're supposed to run like a business when they're simply not. Exactly. They're a service. That's why I hate when people, like, the school system lost this much money. The post office is down this much money. It's like, it's a service. It costs money. Like, that's the whole thing. Good. That means they're doing something. Good. That means they spent it. I'm glad. Go more into debt. And we don't just get our taxes taken out. They keep us and make us do math. I need to do that. My taxes are so fucked. My taxes are so actually fucked this year. I'm gonna go to jail. Like, I really, if I'm not posting, it's because I'm in jail for tax fraud on accident. I think I'm just gonna, like, write them a check for, like, $10,000, which is, like, all the money that I have, and just be like, I don't know, I'm sorry. You have 3 years to file. Oh, I do? I thought it was till April 15th. In other countries, they just send them a receipt and be like, okay, thank you, you're done. Just buy one less billion-dollar plane and maybe we can help the educate. Oh, extension. I'm supposed to talk to someone about my taxes next week. I have a plan. So hopefully I don't have to do the extension, but that's good to know. Wasn't your dad supposed to do your taxes? He's being difficult about it now. Ugh. It's confusing. And so he was like, this is kind of a lot and kind of confusing. So I don't really think that's in his wheelhouse of things he wants to do right now. Okay, basically, if we think something is going on with one of our students, we should keep our mouths shut instead of advocating for them to save the district money. I started applying to other districts that day. Brutal out here. This is from an early childhood education assistant. It's anonymous. I just got hired on as a teacher assistant. Oh, this one's rough. I remember this one. As a teacher assistant back in January, they did not inform me during our interview that the lead teacher was actually a permanent sub who had no experience in teaching, rather was a retired lady who used to work at a factory but decided to sub because she was bored. Big mood. I later find out that they hired me due to my experience being a lead teacher at a preschool for 9 years. To clarify, I have a BA in English but no other certifications, thus why I'm an assistant. Admin wanted me to basically run the classroom. I had to completely reorganize the classes. It was a disaster. No one knew where anything was. The other assistant started in August and had no experience working with kids and is practically a standing body. I got hired as an early childhood education sub and I was a standing body, but then people taught me what to do. How can I find her on Twitch? It's the name is on the live and it's linked in my link tree. Where was I? The other assistant had started in August and had no experience working with kids, is practically a standing body. The sub is an old lady who is extremely forgetful and loses everything given to her. I was told to gather data as there is no data on any of the kids. We were in January and these children had been solely watching YouTube videos and playing all day. I'm very pro YouTube and playing, but if I was sending my child to school and that's what was happening, I would be against that. The sub was never given lesson plans, and she was giving worksheets way above their grade level, so my job was to come in, record data, and incorporate small groups into their schedule. Side note, they literally had no schedule posted and weren't following one. Bro, kids need a schedule. One thing about kids, they need a schedule, like, desperately. The sub saw me as a threat to her position and felt the need to track me down on my lunch break and intimidate me and tell me that she didn't like what I was doing. Like, if you're bad at your job and someone else is doing your job, just take the W and leave them alone. Like, literally. Hold on. I need to do something. Give me 1 second. I'm going to pause my video for like a moment. Not on TikTok though. You're just going to move right there. All right. Yay, I fixed it. Sorry, I was having difficulties with live, laugh, loving, and all of that. Oh, fuck, it's still happening. Sorry. There we go. I fixed it, I think. Oh no, I dropped you. Okay, you can still see me. Everything's fine. I think I'm about to break my ring light, which is good. There we go. Okay. Is there a virtual prize box? I've been trying to figure out a way to do that. So not right now, but maybe. Is this your living room? This is where there's supposed to be a kitchen table, but I don't have a kitchen table. Is where I'm at right now. Okay, so let me focus. The principal's response is that she is not permanent, whereas I am, and that I just need to keep following orders from them. Yet the sub is continuously not allowing me to do my job. She'll interrupt me, tell the class different directions than what I had given. Admin keeps telling me to do jobs that are beyond my pay grade, while I have a sub that probably has dementia, this lady, and who doesn't want me to do my job. They've created a weird power dynamic between the two of us, and I genuinely don't know what to do. That's brutal. Like, honestly, that's really bad. Like, really not good vibes. Ooh. Okay, content warning, verbal abuse, essay, which is sexual assault, overall Christian fundamentalist nonsense. This was the content warning that the person put on here. No, but why did the instructor in the mental health training I go to today use live, laugh, love? I wanted to leave then and there. I would have left. Another streamer I have watched has colored lights that you can change as a prize. Oh my god, that's funny. I should do that. This is actually right near where I grew up, this school. This is like right near where I was raised. Providence Christian Academy in Lawrence, Georgia, which is in Gwinnett County. I attended a private Christian high school right outside of Atlanta from 9th to 11th grade, 2017 to 2021. They did you dirty on the COVID year. They did you dirty on the COVID years. I'm like so illiterate today. I always am because I've just left work. I was still a student there in 12th grade, but I was in dual enrollment at that point and had all online classes, so I was never on campus. I'm now a freshman in college. The way the administration handled dangerous teachers was bad before I even attended. The year prior to me attending, a PE teacher was fired and arrested for exchanging explicit pictures on Snapchat with a student. Before he was fired, he would yell at the class constantly and was just generally a terrible person. The school tried to cover this up. I learned this from my friend who was in that class. How is he in jail? I have a panic attack every time the audio lags, jumps a little. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to catch up in the chat. There's a lot happening right now. I'm buckled in for this. Here we go. Thank you, non-binary grandpa. I saw your parent log form Google form on your TPT. Can you explain how it automatically creates into an Excel sheet? So it creates a Google sheet when you have the form. Once you get responses, when you're looking at the responses in the top right, there's going to be a button that's like a little green square. You can click that and it will make the sheet for you. Hope that was helpful. If you are having any other problems with it, shoot me an email and I can explain it to you. I'll make a screen recording for you if you want to. Okay, so I wasn't paying attention the first time I read this, so I'm going to read it again. Do new responses automatically upload? Yes, they do. That's my favorite part about it. Okay, so I attended this private Christian high school right outside Atlanta. The way this administration handled dangerous teachers was bad, but even before I attended, the year prior to me attending, a PE teacher was fired and arrested for exchanging explicit pictures on Snapchat. Before he was fired, he would yell at the class constantly and was just a terrible person. The school tried to cover this up. I learned this from my friends who were in that class. Okay, now I feel like I'm on the same page as everyone. So now getting into what I experienced firsthand, I had the misfortune of going to the school during a time that teachers were leaving in droves and had to be replaced very quickly. Some of it came down to them being at retiring age, and some of it had to do with them disagreeing with administration on certain decisions. Never found out what those were. In 10th grade, I had a new teacher for Algebra 2. He had a horrible temper and took out his anger on the class because he didn't know how to deal with the 4 out of 5 actually shitty people in our class who were causing problems. The entire reason they were causing problems was to get a rise out of the teacher in the first place. Some kids can be assholes. I want coffee really bad right now, but that's a bad decision. All right, he would lean over students in desk to yell at people in the back row and even called us the worst class he had ever taught in, you remind me so much of my son's current teacher. That's cute, tell her I said hi. The worst class he had taught in 15 years. Again, this is due to the actions of less than 5 people in a 20-person class. I would be visibly crying and other students were visibly uncomfortable during these yelling fits, but he would not stop. The other class period who had him said that he was one of his favorite teachers because they'd never witnessed this rage, which made us feel insane. That's crazy that he was like raging in one class but not the other. Like, that's actually kind of batshit crazy. I never went to admin about it because of how they handled problematic teachers in the past, and I knew nothing would get done either way. I was shamed for this decision by my parents, and yet they didn't do anything about it either. I did make a meme about this. I'm sorry if that's offensive because it was like your life and your parents did not do what they could have done to protect you, but I thought this was a good meme, and I'm hoping if you follow me, you're also into the memes. Hoping that's the vibe. Hoping / praying. Memes to process hard times. He sounds like a massive gaslighter. Brutal out here, brutal out here. Oh, sorry. I have what's the stream about today? Education horror stories. I have the respiratory system of a pug dog. Also, I met this French bulldog at work today, and I loved him. He was awesome. He was so funny. How do you deal with anxiety and social anxiety in the classroom? So one, how do I deal with anxiety in the classroom? I don't. I just shove it down. And social anxiety, so for me, being like on stage doesn't trigger social anxiety. Like being in front of a group of students, if I'm leading a training, if I'm like at the front of the room in a big crowd, if I'm on TikTok, if I'm on Twitch, that does not trigger social anxiety at all for me. What triggers a lot of social anxiety for me is like one-on-one interactions and going to new places. Like if I don't know the layout of a place, I don't know who's gonna be there, I don't know what it's gonna be like, that makes me very socially anxious and like really not good at talking and like really like rattled. So I haven't really had to deal with that in the classroom because like I'm in charge, so I know what it's gonna be like. But when it comes to anxiety in the classroom, I really wish I had better tips. That's part of why I had to leave. I just had to get out of there. Okay. Oh, I forgot. This is supposed to be part 3, but I like forgot to change it on there because I just copied them and then changed the text, but I forgot to. All right, so in the same year, right before spring semester, they hired a new Bible teacher. For context, we only had Bible teachers for 1 semester each and took 2 Bible classes per year in total. Remember, this is a private Christian academy, so it's like fine that they have Bible. That's like, because it's not a public school, so we don't need to get mad at that. I mean, you can be mad personally, but like legally it's fine. His qualifications consisted of teaching at the same school 17 years ago and also having been a pastor. Nobody liked this dude. He told his students that anxiety, depression, and other mental illnesses were sins and demonic. It be feeling demonic, not gonna lie. Like, it be feeling like a demon is in your brain, but it's not. Like, it just feels shitty. Oh my god, look at that cat. Sorry, I keep burping. He even told my class that abortion was a child sacrifice to a pagan god. Oh my god. Jesus. Sorry, I'm trying to read the chat. The only way I survived his class was by sitting next to my close friend at the time and cringing the whole way through. This probably goes without saying, but their treatment of topics like Black Lives Matter and anything to do with the LGBT community was basically off the table. There were definitely a few good teachers that made us feel safe as a closeted non-binary person at the time, but not enough to make up for the fuck shit that I was over here. Sorry this ended up being long. I tried to keep it brief. Never apologize for your submissions being long. I love the long ones, the juicy ones, the ones with tons of detail, the ones that span over multiple years, like with all the things. I love those. So don't feel like they have to be too short. Okay, sorry. Someone sent something in the chat and it's like all the talk right now. So my first year teaching, students tampered with multiple teachers' beverages and they didn't tell us till 4 months in, and it happened 4 times in 3 months. This happened when I was in high school. Some kids that I went to school with, when they were in middle school at a different middle school, they put hand sanitizer in their teachers' drinks. They didn't tell us what I put in there. Assumptions were hand sanitizer. Yeah, a common one. If I had a parent at that private school, I would simply withdraw my money and student. Yeah, me too. I don't really understand private schools. Also, like, because I grew up where that school is, I am in the know. There's a lot of very good public schools in that area, and the private schools are not, in my opinion, as like good as the public schools. Like, the private schools don't have as many AP classes that they offer. They don't have as many elective choices, like things like that. They do have smaller class sizes, so I could see why, depending on your situation, you do that. But I've never understood why people send their kids to private school when you're in a district that has quality public schools. I don't understand. Dude, I'm a Christian, but why the fuck would I ever send my kid to a school where they don't feel safe? White flight, lol. Yeah, maybe that is it. In that area. Because I know the demographics of that area when I grew up, but I don't really know what they are now. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe it is that, like, not doubting that people are racist, but I'm wondering the numbers of that. Interesting. So, anonymous from a student teacher. Just generally the traditional teacher certification process, like bachelor or master's after student teaching in a shit ton of useless classes, is fucking insane. Like, student teaching is a full-time unpaid internship while also getting a full-time graduate study while being a full-time graduate student and having to pay money to be in the program. My program also strongly discourages you from having a job. So, like, how money? I'm grateful I have good scholarships and live with 2 people, so the financial situation is okay, but Jesus Christ, just us getting started with the unpaid labor early. Am I right? Yeah. I didn't student teach, but I think it's like such a scam. It's crazy that a lot of people have to do it. I think you should have to do it. Like, I think it's something that's very useful, but you should get paid for doing it. Like, I get if you don't get paid the entire salary of a teacher, but you should at least get like a stipend to live on and shit, or like housing, or like they need to be giving something. Give something. Okay, content warning. Trigger warning. Also, wealthy kids want their kids to be surrounded themselves with other wealthy families. Yeah, that's true. Okay, content warning, victim blaming racism. Student from Tampa, Florida. I had a meeting today and we were talking about Tampa, Florida. So like many unethical teacher stories, this begins with a theater teacher and his gigantic ego. Yeah, theater people do be having egos sometimes. Not all of them, but some of them do. I think it's pretty crazy that teaching credentials aren't considered a real degree. Yeah. Wild out here. God, I'm being so, like, getting so distracted today. I need to, like, turn the chat off. But I like looking at the chat, so I don't know. So, unlike many So like many unethical teacher stories, this begins with the theater teacher and his gigantic ego. I worked doing costumes and makeup for a play during my sophomore year. The guy in the play started sexually harassing me and sending me gross Snapchats trying to grope me in public during rehearsals. He found out I was talking shit about him and tried to publicly humiliate me in front of everyone in the department. He literally got in my face and told me, "You fat, I don't even want to, you that bad. Ugh. Ugh. Ugh." I left and my teacher found me to talk to me. He took me to his office and told me I wasn't allowed to talk about this with anyone else, not my parents and not even another teacher. What? Bro, if you're taking a child alone and say, if the words "don't tell your parents" come out of your mouth, I think immediately you should be taken to prison, because that's like the biggest red flag of a sentence to say to a child. Ooh, what was the last straw to leave teaching? There wasn't like one last straw, but one thing that made me be like, yeah, I need to leave like right now. I can't wait till the end of the year. Is an administrator stood over me and screamed at me in front of 50 kids, and I reported it to the principal, and he said he would do something, and then I followed up 5 times, and no one ever addressed it. No one ever did anything. No one apologized for it. And literally when I reported it the first time, I said, if I said I want to sit down and have a conversation with all of us, if he takes accountability and apologizes and comes to my class and tells my students that was inappropriate, I won't, like, we can move on. Like, it can be water under the bridge if that happens. And they're like, yeah, he was like, yeah, I'll make that happen. And then he was like, I'm sorry that you feel something happened, but we're going to address it. And so the fact that he said, I'm sorry that you feel something happened, and then I sent so many emails following up. I was like, when is this conversation happening? He told me to come to his office at a certain time. I waited for 45 minutes and he ditched me twice. So that really made me be like, wow, this, like, I'm getting no support. I'm getting nothing. Like, I can't be in this environment. And I bet your students had your back the whole time. Yeah, it was actually like, that's what made it so much worse, is that it happened in front of kids. So the administrator yelled at me, and then all the kids like started to, all the kids like raised their voice and were like, you can't talk to her like that. And it just like really, really escalated and was like really big and really a lot. And it was like really not a fun time. And then I had to go back and teach the rest of the day. And I was like super shaken up about it. I'm sorry you feel that way is the biggest cop out. Yeah. And it wasn't even, I'm sorry you feel that way. He said, I'm sorry that you feel something happened. When like so many people saw it and it was on camera. And I thought about going to HR, but I had really negative experiences with them before. So I was just like, and I was like, I'm like, not happy. I was like going to be having financial issues. Like, I need to get a new place, and I wasn't going to be able to do that. So yeah, it was a lot. Okay. So told me I wasn't allowed to talk about this with anyone. It's not my parents, not even another teacher. He told me that I needed to shut my mouth and that it was my fault this guy yelled at me. He also told me, he is white by the way, that I was racist for not letting the guy grope me, and that if he had been white, you would have just let him. What? Literally what? What? Oh, when I said and it was on camera, I mean like the security cameras. Like, I don't have access to any of that footage. If he'd been white, you would have just let him. That makes literally no sense. Like, I don't even understand why their brain would create those thoughts. For context, I'm a person of color and was heavily sexualized by this teacher on the day-to-day. There it is. Now it makes sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense in like an okay way. It makes sense in like a that's on brand way. I just can't believe this happened. I was 14 at the time and wish I had said something. This is my little note at the bottom. I know like everyone says this and it's not that helpful, but really don't blame yourself. I've looked back on tons of situations and been like, wow, I should have said something, I should have done something, but you have to recognize like you were a child in the moment and you did the best you could in the moment of like doing what you knew to do, and it's not your fault and you shouldn't have been in that situation to begin with, so try not to like hold too much anger towards yourself about the situation. A very small and rural district, part 1. How many more left do we have? I think a fair amount. I don't know. It's what a cool teacher, abusive and racist, literally. It's not so much that this story is unethical, but absolutely ridiculous. Even though it happened in October, I still can't get over it. I'm a special education teacher in a co-taught 4th grade class. I have one student in particular who requires a lot of attention and redirection. One day I happened to have my laptop with me in my resource room because I was doing digital data collection. I got an email notification that someone posted on Google Classroom. I clicked the post and the student, I'll call him Max, posted on the classroom where everyone could see that he had an accident and needed someone to call his mom and bring in new pants. I called my co-teacher and asked if Max was in the room with her. She thought Max was with me, so I go sprinting out of the room to find him and found him in the single stall bathroom with the door wide open, completely naked. He waved to me and said hi with no ounce of concern in his voice. One thing about kids is they will be in like the worst situation and be like, hi. Hi. And just so casual. Hi. He waved to me and said hi with no ounce of concern in his voice. I then tell him I'm going to go to the nurse and get him pants. And the time I run to the nurse's office to grab pants, he posted again to Google Classroom asking for pants. Apparently, he had left his Chromebook in my resource room and on the way had his accident and hopped in the bathroom. This little boy is so sweet, but he does not belong in an inclusion classroom. He requires assistance putting on his jacket, one-on-one attention throughout the day, and needs reminders to wash his hands after using the bathroom. He's functioning at a kindergarten level for math and can't count consistently. I have data to prove that he needs more support, but instead my boss reprimands me anytime I bring it up. He takes up a lot of energy and resources, and the other students are starting to target him. The administration refused to send him out of the district because they pride themselves on not sending kids to out-of-district placements. So I'm assuming because this is a rural district that it's like if your district doesn't have the resources to serve a student that has certain needs, they send them to another neighboring district is what I'm assuming is happening here. I was in an urban district, so it's like a very different situation. I have 13 other identified students who are also very needy and 10 general education students. Even with 3 adults in the room, it's not enough support. The identified kids aren't getting the services they need, and I'm burning myself out from being pulled in all directions. I love my kids, even with all the effort I put in, they aren't getting what they deserve. This happens in urban districts as well. Yeah. I meant about the out-of-district placement stuff, and then you lose the funding. Yeah. This is like, I've seen inclusion work really well, and then I've seen inclusion where it's like this, where it's like the student that needs accommodations is being underserved, and then the student that needs the accommodations is like that teacher's having to devote a lot of attention to that student, so the other students are being underserved, and then the other students start to target that one student because that one student is like getting more attention, basically. I'm not saying that it's like a bad thing they're getting more attention, it's just like at a kid brain, that's how they function. So I think inclusion can work, but I think a lot of times it's just done to like save money. Yeah. This is anonymous from Georgia. When I was a second-year teacher, I moved back to my hometown to be closer to my family. My grandparents weren't doing well, and I wanted to be close if they needed me. In September, my grandmother was diagnosed with a brain tumor and days later had surgery. I was living in the hospital with her and leaving during days for work while my mom and grandfather stayed with her. In December, my grandmother died from complications with the tumor. I took off a few days for her funeral, and my admin, who had been blatantly bullying me all year, didn't even bother to tell my colleagues. She then proceeded to call me during my grandmother's funeral, which she knew I was at, to tell me that since Monday was within 2 days of our Christmas break, if I wasn't at work then I would not have a job. I was literally at my grandmother's funeral. This is just one of many shitty things she did to me. Thank God I managed to get out of there. Not the funeral. Not the funeral. It really has to be the right program for the kid. Forcing it is hard to be successful. Yeah, about the inclusion things. Yeah, it's hard. Okay, anonymous from Virginia. I was called at the beginning of my planning block to join an MDR meeting, the thingy where they assess if a discipline issue was caused by a student's disability. Okay, got it. For a student that I had for half a semester in study hall the previous semester, I didn't even recognize the kid's name at first, but apparently I was the only current general education teacher who could join. It was an emergency meeting, and I don't blame our special ed people. They're fantastic, or anyone really. They were desperate, but it just illustrates how chaotic everything is. That's one thing that I hated about being a teacher, is how chaotic everything was. Everything was last minute. Everything was an emergency. Everything was done haphazardly, stuff like that. Like, it's always like, why am I in this meeting? I'm not qualified to speak on this, or like, why was I not in that meeting? I absolutely should have been in that meeting. Like, it's always one or the other. I literally only waved when I was announced and just sat there on camera for the rest of it, but it was virtual. The mom called in on a phone with no video. The kid was supposed to be there, but he was clearly either across the room or in another room entirely, and it took 2 minutes of shuffling around to get a out of him. Luckily, the disciplinary incident was a very cut and dry case, but imagine if it weren't. No way this setup could actually accomplish what this meeting is supposed to do, with me as the gen ed and the kid not even there. Sheesh. This is like, so many things are this way where it's like, the idea is good. Like, having a meeting to discuss this is good. Like, that's a good idea. But, like, the implementation is just done terribly and awfully. Okay, anonymous. So, my first year teaching, I was hired at a private school to teach a subject I did not have a degree in, but had experience in and a certification to teach. The principal told me that there was no curriculum and teach whatever you want. Avi, being the teacher I am, I overplanned the shit out of my classes and wrote an outline of what I thought a strong curriculum would be to meet the state standards. Then, in the first day of school, I found out I was teaching a whole class the administration didn't tell me about, I had no resources for, no experience in. I was teaching 5 preps, that's 5 different classes. I only ever taught 1 prep, and teaching was hard for me with 1 prep. I cannot imagine doing 5, I would die. My first year teaching and barely making a livable wage. In my time at this school, I wrote curriculum for at least 8 different courses, coached 2 sports, sponsored many clubs, got a master's degree, and was never paid above $35,000. That is bananas. That's a literally batshit crazy. What are preps? Preps is like a class that you teach. So like, let's say I teach US history and I teach world history. I have 2 preps. Maybe I teach 3 classes of US and 3 classes of world. So I'm teaching 6 physical classes, but I'm teaching 2 different preps, like 2 different preparations you have to do, if that makes sense. This person's story was terrible. Yeah, literally. I quit Avi, but looking back, it's wild to me that the school thought any of that was acceptable. I could go into so much more detail about other experiences I had working in private schools, but that would be its own podcast at this point. Y'all can send me the long ones. Send them on in. I have an emotionally abusive department chair who gives 5 preps to new teachers if they do something she doesn't like. How are these people allowed to do this? Like, how is this just allowed? How do we submit stories? The link is in my link tree. It's called, like, Wow, That's Unethical. You can submit stories there. That's crazy. I just submitted a super long story about 10 minutes ago. Okay, it'll probably be on the next one, maybe the one after that. All that and getting paid $35K, bro. Anonymous from Florida. So I came from a hospitality background and had to switch careers due to COVID. I was told to start on a Friday so I could get some training before I started with my classes, which would start on Monday. This is exactly how I started teaching. Like, teacher salaries force you into marriage and codependencies. Yeah, they literally do. It's crazy. I was starting mid-year in November. Now thinking back, one day was not nearly enough to be trained for anything. I showed up day 1 and had kids dropped off my door and was expected to teach with 0 background or training. I didn't know the curriculum. I didn't have a lesson plan. I didn't meet my team. I didn't get a tour. It wasn't until I was told to join the union and cried at the union meeting, realizing how mistreated I was, that I got support from other teachers, not admins. Special teachers constantly have 5 preps. Some special teachers have like 10 preps, which is crazy. The other teachers didn't even know who I was since I was never introduced to the school. I have stuck up for myself since and have called my union to intervene on things my admin tries to do, such as complete pre-observation over the weekend after being told about it on Friday after contract hours to be observed on Monday. I'm now very uncomfortable around my admin, but just have to deal with it. Because of me, I am now seeing new teachers get 2-3 days before being placed in a classroom. Those 2-3 days are spent alone on a computer to do lesson plans because our coaches are busy with whatever else they have to do. Yeah, this is very much giving Florida. 0% surprised that this is Florida. Also, for those of you, I don't know if you just heard my back crack. Did anyone hear that? I don't know if you could hear it. I could hear it. It was loud. Someone tell me if you could hear that. That felt so good. For those of you on TikTok right now, if you go to the link in my bio, you can see Twitch and you can see slides and stuff like that. I'm a special Spanish teacher and I have 14. You have 14 preps? Is that legal? I'm so fucking depressed. I would be. Oh my God. Oh, you heard it? I'm glad you heard it. 14 preps? Oh my God. I'll have to take a grippy sock vacation. How is that possible? I know sometimes special teachers rotate between schools and teach like tons of different grades, so I would assume that that's how that's possible, because they could be teaching Spanish to tons of grades, like K through 12. Love Florida education. Yeah, welcome to hell. I have 6 preps. I felt like I was being dramatic about freaking out about it, but now I feel better. The most I've seen someone with at the school I taught at was 4. And even that, I was like, literally no. Like, literally no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Oh, I forgot I made a meme about Florida. Here, I'll let you enjoy this Florida meme for a second. Can you guys hear me even when I'm leaned back? I'm going to drink some water for a second and let you enjoy this meme. I put too much lemon in this, but I'm kind of fucking with it. It's literally like lemon water. Like there's so much lemon juice in it. Oh, you can still hear me? Okay, good. Because beforehand, like if I wasn't like right up on the mic, it like wasn't working. Me, a first-year teacher in Florida, loving the meme. This is a first-year Florida teacher support account. Like I exist to support first-year teachers in Florida specifically. That's my niche. First-year teachers in Florida. Okay, Western Wisconsin. The Midwest be all up in this form. Love my Midwesterners. I told my boyfriend that. He was like, where are most of these coming from? And I was like, a lot are from Florida, a lot are from the Midwest. And I was like, I think most of them are from the Midwest. I was like, so many people that follow me are from the Midwest. I wonder why that is. And he was like, look at you. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, you literally are like the poster child for the Midwest. And I was like, I'm not even from the Midwest. And he was like, you just look like you're from the Midwest. And I was like, you're not wrong. Okay, so Western Wisconsin. My junior and senior year AP English teacher had a few favorites in her class, and she would make it known. She practically had them on a pedestal and would always give them extensions on stuff. This is mine, LMAO, I'm dead. Oh my god. She practically put them on a pedestal and would always give them extensions on stuff, but didn't give me one when I missed a week because my grandma died. I'm sorry, RIP. What's that? What do you say? My condolences. May her memory always live on. What do you say when someone died? Why is it escaping me? What do you say? Literally, what do you say? It's like on the tip of my brain. I can't remember what it is. She called me poor boy. Oh, the way I'd be in jail if this was my teacher. The way I would literally assault this person. She called me poor boy unprovoked in front of the class and said horrible things about other students, and admin did nothing. She targeted me and other Catholic kids, which is funny because she's Catholic. Catholicism confuses me. And would randomly have us do stuff that like list the 10 commandments. Again, can we get a separation? I'm sorry for your loss. That's what it is. Thank you. I'm sorry for your loss. That was the sentence I couldn't say. I thought the skeleton in the back was your new boyfriend lurking. No, it's not. Okay, so she would have us randomly do stuff like list the 10 commandments. The theme of this episode is separation of church and state and how we don't have it in schools. And would again berate us if when we didn't want to answer. Shout out to Mary Lynn. Mary Lynn, I hope you're watching this, babe. Yay, religious trauma. I went to like a hippie church when I was a kid. Like, you know, like the churches where like everyone homeschools their kids and they like go outside all the time. Oh shit, I just kicked that again. And they like go outside all the time. And it's just like, those are the vibes. Like, that's the kind of church that I grew up in. I don't know if you could tell by that everything about me. Unitarian church. So I went to a Unitarian Universalist church, which is very basically the same thing. I forgot to mention she also had a giant statue of Jesus in her classroom. Not Jesus in the classroom. I would throw stuff at it. Just to annoy her. Okay, anonymous. The freshman team had a minimum grading policy at 45% for missing work, 50% for complete but incomplete or badly failed assignments. How many do you have left? How many, what do I have left? I don't know how many I have left, actually. Not that many, I don't think. Let me look. There's a way to look. Hold on. Oh, no, I have, like, low-key kind of a lot left. Oops. So let me speed up a little bit. The freshman team has a minimum grading policy. There it is right there. At the beginning of the second semester, a veteran teacher told me that he wasn't going to continue the grading policy because these stupid kids don't do any work. He also has been marking down students' homework grades because he says they're cheating when he literally has no evidence. I can understand being burnt out, but I can't understand literally just wanting kids to fail. Everyone knows if you're feeling lazy and you don't want to grade something, you just have to give everyone like 100 or a 90. Like, that's just what you have to do. I'm innocently watching this, and I saw a spider make a little home next to my bed. Tuck him in, obviously. So Northeastern Connecticut, the high school I went to is right next to UConn, and the difference in treatment levels between the smarter and less smart students, I don't like using the word smart. What are you reading? I'm reading Education Horror Story submissions on Twitch. Was crazy. There were 3 different grade levels, A, B, and AP dual enrollment. The B level is supposed to be the regular level, A is honors, and AP is supposed to be extra high level, but admin wanted to see more high achieving, and everything got shifted. A level was expected, AP was wanted, B level was just sort of left behind. Most of the people in B level had some kind of barrier to learning, mental, economic, whatever, and I ended up feeling like B level kids were just pushed into the background, even though they were successful outside of traditional school. I graduated with over 30 college credits, but I'm still not sure if the emotional toll and stress was worth it. This is from Belgium, so international. Context school in Belgium. I'm Dutch, which is from the Netherlands, so a foreigner in their eyes. I have chronic fatigue syndrome and EDS. I don't really know how to pronounce it, but there's what it is, and I put a little description of it. So my body just doesn't work like a normal student's body, and school is very hard for me. I skipped a lot of school or just did half days. My doctor blessed me with permission slips so I could sleep instead of going to school. And I had this one history teacher that was also my mentor teacher, so she was supposed to help me get through school, but she never believed me or gave me the feeling that I was believed. The fact that I was also Dutch didn't help, and looking back, my Dutch friends and I have endured so much subtle discrimination. But fun fact, my best friend got CFS in the last year of high school, and they changed a whole week's schedule for her so she could do half days without missing important things. I was like, what? I've been struggling 6 years, and now you're changing things, and it's not even for me. My best friend is a Belgian, so you best believe I took advantage and skipped those days as well. Now I'm counseling to fix all the problems my high school and high school teachers gave me. Yeah, for me, I could do a whole rant about the subtle discrimination or trauma they caused me, but now 3 years later, I'm trying to fix it. I have EDS, and this was my experience and ultimately why I became a teacher. Oh my goodness. Congrats on becoming a teacher. Proud of you. I don't even mean that sarcastic. Here's another meme. Hee. Grading can be exhausting, yeah. I was kind of lazy with grading. How I feel when I get a submission from another country. This is really how I do be feeling. Mr. Worldwide. Okay. This story is kind of dark and really sad. Just want to share my experience. My first year as a teacher last year, a student was handcuffed in our classroom by our SRO, and SRO is a school cop. He punched another kid in the nose for making fun of him. The whole interaction was incredibly traumatic for myself and the rest of my class who witnessed it. This year, it's even worse. We have had so many kids getting arrested and suspended at school. SROs in general are problematic, but at the same time, kids are assaulting each other and the staff. The student that got handcuffed came back to school after juvie with an ankle monitor. He wasn't the only student who had one. Kids are being charged with multiple felonies. On school shooter day, there were some middle schoolers who were discovered to be planning a shooting that are now being tried for terrorism. Felonies, obviously. And I just wonder what the fuck is going on with the parents. Where are they? This year, the juvenile detention center that the kids are supposed to go to is now rejecting them if their offenses aren't dangerous enough. The juvie doesn't have room to take kids in that get into fights because it's filled with other kids who have done worse stuff. The U.S. is at such a breaking point. I think people really don't realize how bad things are. I don't think parents are really understanding that so many kids are literally in crisis, and I also think so many parents are uninvolved that their kids are crying out for help, and it's not my job or within my ability to deal with kids in crisis day in and day out, along with other external issues that kids may face that may or may not be within the parents' control. In a different lens, the kids obviously don't understand the seriousness of any of this and that this will be on the record for the rest of their life. How the fuck are you going to get a job when you have felony auto theft on your record? I teach social studies, and the public district I teach in is considered to be very rich and suburban compared to surrounding districts, and I have freshmen 14 to 15-year-olds. That's really fucking crazy. And I think when it comes to parents, I think a lot of parents are really suffering under capitalism. A lot of parents have a lot of issues. A lot of parents are at work so much that they're just very disconnected from their children. And I think a lot of parents don't realize how disconnected they are from their children. And I think a lot of parents feel a lot of guilt about that. So I feel bad for every single person involved. in this problem. It's just overall a mess. Indiana student teacher. So I'm student teaching this semester, my second week of being in the classroom, and almost every day an admin will come down and ask my mentor to go sub in a different classroom, leaving me alone. I've also been creating every single lesson on my own because they ask him to sub during our prep period. I'm fine with my mentor leaving sometimes because I feel more comfortable, but it's an everyday occurrence and sometimes all day long. Maybe I'm just a baby, but I'm literally paying to get mentored. I'm not paying tuition to work basically a full-time job with no help or experience. Complain to your college. If you're like watching this as I'm reading it, complain to your college. Literally call your college, like your program, your coordinator, like whoever your advisor, I don't know, like the structure of that. Call them, tell them, complain. Because you are paying tuition. You are paying tuition. You're paying tuition, and you need to get what you are there to do and deserve and all of that. Honestly, I've seen elementary age kids getting more physical with each other. The pandemic has destroyed their minds. I think a lot of kids just like experienced a lot in quarantine, and I think a lot of kids were alone a lot in quarantine. I think that's more of a problem than people realized, is how many kids were home alone all day, every day for a while. I think that's really, really, really what's like done this to them. People are like, oh, it's the mask, it's the quarantine. I think it's the fact that they were alone all day, every day. I think kids who had like siblings at home with them, or a stay-at-home parent, or a work-from-home parent, had like a lot better outcomes than kids that were just like super isolated by themselves. All right, Bible Belt, Georgia, part 1. Hi, student experience. Loved most of my teachers growing up, but I feel like the school system failed young girls, how they handled dress code. This really strikes close to home. This is something I dealt with a lot in high school, was dress code. I'm 25 years old, and today the instances I experiences I still think about basically 10 years later. They also didn't learn how to be social with people their own age. Yeah, I think that's what it is too. I hope it's gotten better since I was a teenager, but this was low-key traumatic. I think it was high-key traumatic. I'm completely for dressing appropriately at school because we're there to learn, and this is not Euphoria High. I was watching Euphoria the other night, and my boyfriend was like, are they allowed to dress like that? And I was like, yeah, it's Euphoria High. But young people, especially young girls, cannot control how their bodies look in clothes. As bodies grow, clothes may not fit as well, and not everyone can afford to buy new clothes. Two people could be wearing the same thing, and because one is developing faster, they get dress coded, stuff like that. Anyways, I was in 8th grade just before summer break, and it was hot. Another girl in my class were both in shorts and a t-shirt, and like the rest of the students, but because we were taller and developing faster than the other students, our shorts appeared too short to our teacher. To digress, I am not a teacher, and I don't know personally if a teacher how a teacher would typically handle this, but I know for a fact I would make sure if I did have a talk to a student, it would be in a discreet manner, not to embarrass them. You do not know what these kids are going through, and what they wear is not always within their control. I get that we're old enough to dress ourselves, but I was wearing what my friends wore, and when you're 14 to 15, you're still learning how to dress a body that's unfamiliar to you. I loved the way that this person explained this, because I'd never thought about it in this way, that like you really are dressing a body that's like new to you, and how hard that was, and like you just don't know how things are gonna look. I remember a lot of times getting frustrated that things didn't look the way I thought they were, and like all of that. You know, being a teenager's hard. So in the middle of class, the teacher calls on both of us to stand up. I remember my heart dropped. We stood before the classroom. The teacher told us to put our hands at our side to see if our shorts were too short. Fun. Mind you, my mom saw my outfits every day and would make me change if she felt that what I was wearing was inappropriate. No complaints from mom that morning, and I'd worn these shorts multiple times. Maybe I grew. I don't know what the issue was. The teacher had us in front of all of our peers, measuring with our fingers if our shorts were too short. The publicness of this is so unprofessional. Now, if that was the end of the story, like, yeah, it happens. But no, she accused all of us in front of the class of not extending our hands all the way down, proceeds to then find a ruler and measure while on full display the length of our shorts. She gets frustrated because I guess our shorts were fine, but didn't want to be proven wrong. So she goes to the teacher next door. What a psycho. What a literal psycho. Like, imagine, oh my God. Oh my God, you guys, it's my 4th grade history teacher that's here. I'm gonna cry. It might be someone spamming me, but that's like, if that's really my 4th grade history teacher, that's super cool. I found her on Facebook and messaged her a while ago, so it's touched around me. But even if this isn't her, I still want to tell this story. So I grew up in a very suburban area, and the only female role models I really had around me were like women that were married with kids, and my 4th grade history teacher was a young woman in her 20s that lived downtown with roommates, and I thought she was so cool. I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like, she just has an apartment and she lives downtown all by herself, and I literally idolized her so much and looked up to her so much because I was like, You can do that? You don't have to be married? Which is crazy because I didn't even grow up in a household that like preached that, which is so funny. She said it's me. That's so funny. Oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. I'm literally gonna cry. This is so cute. Okay, let me go back to this poor person getting traumatized by the misogyny in the school district. So the other teacher stops her class to come in and check our shorts. She too is perplexed by the length. Side note, neighboring teacher was notorious for dress coding students, so she just added fuel to the fire. This is crazy. By this time, I remember feeling extremely humiliated and on the verge of tears, like why put us on full display like this for our class to see, saying we were dressed inappropriately and disrupting other classrooms just to prove your point. And then she had two more teachers completely stop what they were doing to come look at our shorts. We were just 14-year-old girls wearing what we thought were normal clothes to school on a hot day. That's literally insane. Oh my gosh, she said, I'm proud of you for choosing your mental health and taking care of you. Thank you. I don't know exactly why I'm crying in the club right now. Okay, part 4. Anyways, I think they all came to the conclusion that the end of the shorts are fine, and we ended up not getting in trouble, but did we really have to go through all of that to get called out in the middle of class and have our outfits and bodies nitpicked by our educators? It was humiliating. After that, I started to feel uncomfortable in my own body and what I wore. There were even a few other times I'd wear something that other teachers would say that it was too tight or I was showing too much skin. These are the days of Hollister tees and Bermuda shorts. What I wore wasn't inappropriate, but to these teachers, my body is what made them inappropriate. I had very small friends who wore the same things and never had an issue. This happened to me a lot right now. All of this going on and no learning. Where are the standards police now? I don't know why they would do that, because that happened in a workplace, you could sue. Yeah. One time when I was in high school, I was like sitting on the floor in class, and when I was sitting on the floor, like my shirt got messed up. Like we were like doing something, so we were like in groups on the floor. My shirt got messed up, so like my shirt was like folded way down. It was like a V-neck, and it got like twisted, so like my bra was like sticking out. Like my shirt was here, and like my bra was sticking out of it, if that makes sense. And I had a hot pink bra on because I was in my moment, obviously. And like it was, if you saw me, it was so obviously an accident. Like it was like not symmetrical. Like it was clear my shirt was fucked up, and I just hadn't noticed because like I hadn't looked in a mirror. And one of the administrators literally pulled me by my arm, like into her office, and was like, "What do you think you're doing?" And then I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Your shirt." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize my bra was showing." And then I fixed it, and then she was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna believe that was an accident." And I was like, who just has one titty out on purpose? Like if I'm gonna have titty out, I'm gonna have titty out. You know what I mean? And it was so awkward, and it was so embarrassing. It was horrible. And I used to never be able to wear shorts to school. All of high school, I didn't wear shorts to school. I did it one time, and they got my ass before I was even in the building. Like, they got my ass in the parking lot, and then one of my teachers came up and was like, "She's such a sweet girl. What'd she do wrong?" And the lady was like, "Do you see those shorts?" And he was like, "It's 95 degrees outside." And she was like, "I don't care. We have a dress code." And I was like, ah. Because the rule for shorts at my school, like, you could not find shorts that abided by that rule unless you're wearing Bermuda shorts. And when I was in high school, that was like not the style. So it's like, I didn't want to do that. Those also just don't look good on me. One time as a first grader, I took off my itchy sweater and had just a tank top on and got yelled at by my teacher for just trying to be comfy as a first grader. I remember in first grade, I wasn't allowed to wear tank tops to school. And one time my parents were arguing over it because my mom was like, "She can't wear tank tops. It's against the dress code." And my dad was like, "Who fucking cares?" He was like, "She's literally a kid. Who cares?" All right, young girls dressing normally and for the weather, the school system. One time in high school, I had a heat flash in my and I was about to vomit, so I tried to take off my jacket and got yelled at. Yeah, fucking crazy out here. All right, Bible Belt, Georgia, part 5. So I just feel, or at least felt at the time, the school system failed its young girls. Is there a way to address situations like this in private in a delicate manner that would avoid any sort of ridicule or humiliation? I had great teachers after this, especially in high school, who were much more lax with students were to an extent, but teenage girls have enough to deal with when it comes to their bodies, appearances, self-esteem without having grown adults criticize them. I only had one other really icky experience with a male teacher in my sophomore year of high school who didn't approve of a shirt I wore due to it being distracting to him. This is called, I think it's called a Pico top. I don't really know how to say that. Are you holding a glue stick? I was. I just need something to play with at all times. This is the shirt. For those of you that are on TikTok right now, if you join Twitch, the link is in my bio, then you can see the pictures. This is the shirt, not the shirt, but like this is the style of shirt. So that's like literally fine. But yeah, schools need to fix how they handle dress code because they're destroying young girls' self-esteem and it's really fucked up. I love teachers and they're amazing and hard work, but these particular ones need to get their priorities straight. Yes, they do. Content warning, assault. So this is anonymous. I work in middle school, special education. I loved it. The school I teach at has uniforms. They barely enforce it. Highly recommend a fidget cube. I always lose them. I always end up just playing with rando stuff. So I always lose them. Lose everything. Okay. I work in middle school special education. Loved it until this year. This year, I have a student who was very violent. They have hurt a dozen staff members and attacked 3 other special education students. The attacks are mostly closed fist punches to the head. Several people have gone to the emergency room, gotten concussions, black eyes, and other injuries. My supervising teacher has gotten so many concussions that they have been evaluated for their own TBI. I don't know what TBI is. Per IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, the student cannot be removed from the room, suspended, or expelled because the violence is a manifestation of their disability. Admin has told us this is just the way SPED or special education is. We don't get to choose our students. The union has advised us that if we press charges against the student, we will not be renewed for next year. The student often talks about guns, harming animals, and harming their siblings/family members. I report everything and nothing is done. I'm terrified to come to work every day. IDEA needs to be amended. This is not an isolated issue to my school or district. All across America, teachers and paras are physically abused daily in self-contained special education or behavioral classrooms. Paras are not told during their interviews or limited training that this is what to expect. How could you sell that? Abuse for only $14 an hour, especially for our paras that have zero training on de-escalation or other background in serving dangerous students. These students deserve to be surrounded by trained professionals with expertise in handling volatile situations. I'm glad traumatic brain injury. Thank you. I'm glad that you phrased it that way, because I think one thing that people often with situations like this, one route people often go is these students should be expelled. They shouldn't be in the classroom, which that's not true. They just need to be in a situation that can serve them and serve their needs with qualified, adequately paid staff that is treated well. You know what I mean? That should be the solution. IDEA needs to put funding into day schools for students like this who require intensive level of care. IEP teams need the autonomy to change placement to day schools or other appropriate, better suit placements. Other students in my classroom deserve to be safe at school. I deserve to be safe at work. This is a heartbreaking situation. Content warning, sexual assault. I told you a lot of these were rough. This is from Southwest Washington. I graduated from a school district in Southwest Washington State. The first time I heard of the school hiding sexual assaults having was from firsthand experience. I was in the 8th grade when a classmate texted me he was going to show up to my house and R-word me. Then the day later in class, he inappropriately touched me. I immediately told my parents, and the next day they were at the school asking to speak with administrators. I was called to the vice principal's office to speak with them and my father. We were given the old boys will be boys and back in my day talk. If I had a child and I was given that talk, everyone would be getting sued. He did not receive any punishment for his behavior at the school and was able to continue playing sports and be involved in all of his normal activities. While I was told to move seats in the classroom, the assault happened and I had to block his phone number. There was only a few months left at school and we'd go to different high schools, so I'd never have to see him again. At least that's what the vice principal told me and my father. Then in high school, there were many cases of 18-year-old seniors dating 14-year-old freshmen. Teachers knew and encouraged their relationships. Ew. Blech. The major red flag relationship I remember was a 20-year-old super senior who would continuously date 15, 16-year-olds. Oh my God. That's not okay. That's illegal, no? That's illegal. It depends on the state, I think. I then graduated and wanted to forget high school. 2 years later, a senior was threatened with not being able to walk at graduation because he changed his senior speech to call out the administrators for turning their nose to sexual assault that happened during school hours. The school got so much backlash for it that he was allowed to walk. Then earlier this year, a teacher in the school district was arrested for sexual assault and incest. God. Many students have come out now and spoke out about how uncomfortable he made them in their classroom. And then someone dropped an Instagram that says, it's at You Failed to Protect Us, goes over a lot of the info and has student submitted accounts too. I should follow that account. So Pennsylvania Part 1, I had just graduated with my teaching license in December and got hired on as a Title I school in January as a middle school STEM teacher. The class is a hands-on makerspace course. That basically means a class. Perks of working at a Catholic school is that we're so big on not allowing age gap students between freshmen or younger students with older high school students. I guess that's good that they're not allowing that. So let me go back to the start. I'm assuming when it says hands-on makerspace, it means like a class to put like overflow kids. I don't really know though. The school hired me on as a substitute teacher until the school board meeting later this month where they could officially hire me as a full-time contracted teacher. There was no curriculum, no budget for supplies. That is, the budget was $0, and I didn't have rosters for a full week. I was the only teacher in this middle school teaching this specific course. There weren't any other teachers I could turn to for help. There were busing issues with the company the school was using to provide transportation, so many of the students do not have the ability to come to school, as about 6 or 7 buses would never run on a day-to-day basis. These students would get excused absences, but it made teaching in a pandemic harder than it even has to be. Transportation is like something that's so important in school that people don't realize like how much it affects us. Content warning: assault, Pennsylvania Part 2. The school was also known for a lot of physical violence, and many of my middle schoolers would get into physical altercations throughout the day and also in my classroom. A handful of students would use the supplies to attempt to harm each other, to attempt to harm other students, and security was used as a first resort, not a last resort. That was standard protocol for the entire district. The few times I would try to physically or verbally prevent the altercations, I would get reprimanded from administration, telling us that teachers are not to get involved. On top of all of this, the particular position that I was filling had 2 other teachers and a long-term subs rotating throughout the year. That I dropped something. Sorry. Sorry, that just distracted me so bad. On top of all this, the particular position had lots of people in it, so the students did not have stability in the class. This was all around an awful time, as many of the students struggled to learn in a safe environment, and I struggled to get supplies for my students. The worst part for me personally is that when the school board meeting finally came around, they decided to not hire me as a full-time contracted teacher, but as a long-term sub, so they could pay me less. You were already in there with rosters, and they were just like, we're just going to keep paying you as a long-term sub. That's crazy. And then you know that school board will be like, no one wants to work. We have a teacher shortage. Ugh. Makerspace are generally a place with supplies to allow students to be creative. Oh, fun. Ugh. Of course they didn't hire this person. Like, of course they're going to be cheap assholes. I was furious, got the union involved, and ultimately ended up leaving the position because there was nothing the union could do and the school refused to change their minds. I am now a day-to-day sub for other school districts in the area and do not regret my decision at all. The schools I'm at now are way better managed and all around a way better time to work at. Anonymous counselor. Last year, a colleague followed me to my office and verbally berated me because he did not understand instructions. The entire office heard him yelling in my face. Reported, nothing happened. In fact, an AP said, well, it's a he said, she said thing. The same teachers following weeks sought me out during the parking lot and started yelling at me, accusing me of harassing him. Reported to admin, they said the cameras were out, so my story could not be corroborated. Fast forward in the school year, I saw say the morning announcements, and yes, the please and a moment of silence is required by state law. I've had 2 teachers leave their classrooms to accuse me of A, having a problem with God, or B, a non-believer. One, none of their business, and 2, you left your classroom to spread the joy of Christianity. When reported to admin, he told me that it was a difficult conversation with them. Told me that it would be a difficult conversation with them, but yes, they should not have done that. I have plenty of stories like that above. That's stupid because most admin get paid way more for the little work they do. So this might be too hot of a take, but I think admin should actually make more money. I think we should have we should have less admin that make more money. Because if you think about it, like a principal, like my principal, oversaw 100 people. And like if you were at a company and you oversaw 100 people, you would have a good salary. So to get good leaders, we need to pay them adequately. So I think we should have less administrators that are highly qualified and have like admin assistants to do like paperwork things that are also trained, and everyone should get paid well. You know what I mean? Like we should be focusing on who the good leader is and paying them adequately. Okay. So student at a private university in New Jersey. So for some context, this happened fall 2019, spring 2020, right around when shit hit the fan due to COVID. I'll be straight up, I was already dealing with undiagnosed depression prior to COVID, in addition to burning myself out. When COVID hit and classes moved online, I was at an all-time low. I was not productive at home at all, and I knew this long before COVID. One professor I had, we'll call her N, responded to my email about missing work over a week later. Our classes are, but they need huge classroom experience. I think administrators should have to teach at least one class every other year. That's my opinion. At least one every other year. And then just like rotate it between them. You know, like it can be some people's turn some years. So I believe she was teaching 2 or 3 other classes that semester. If I remember correctly, her email back was so belittling, hostile, and rude. I understand that I neglected class and that was wrong, and I have no problem taking blame for that. However, I feel N could have responded differently. I don't believe I can submit screenshots, but to quote the parts of her email that really rubbed me the wrong way. As expected, you never submitted any work last week. Ugh. She never answered. I had 5 other professors that did answer, and I was working on assignments for them. Why would I waste my time doing work for her when I didn't even know if she would accept it? Exactly. Like if you're trying to prioritize shit and you have one professor that's like, hey, if you get it to me by Friday, I can give you full credit for it, and the other one's not answering, you're obviously going to do the one that's like confirmed your information. I also had principals that worked until 11 every night and pulled like decent money. Yeah, I think it also really depends on the district. I had a principal that made $150K that was atrocious. So like my principal made less than $100K, which I think is kind of crazy. Like as a leader, you know? 150, I feel like it's pretty good. It's a lot more than I make. Do you think increasing teacher pay beyond being obviously necessary would attract better people to the job? Yes, absolutely. I would not have left teaching if I was being paid adequately. Like, I would have left my school, but I would have gone to another school. But because I was having financial needs as well, that's why I made a decision to leave education. And I also think you get what you pay for. Like, if you're going to pay someone $35,000 a year, most of the people that people are going to go where they can make the most money. So really high quality people are going to go other places where they can make more money. And then people that don't care as much, aren't qualified, aren't putting in work, are just there to collect a check, that's who's going to stay, because there's not somewhere they could go to make more money because they're not a high achieving person. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. I just think it would inherently improve it, because then you just get what you pay for. If you pay shitty, you're going to get shitty. That's just how life works. That's true of anything. It's not how life has to work. Life doesn't have to work that way, but unfortunately it does. Okay, so due to the unusual circumstance of this semester, and even though you were failing before the move to online, I'm willing to give you an incomplete. My honest opinion is that this will only prolong the inevitable failure of this class at a later date. Jesus Christ. So I'm not sure what would motivate you now. Well, that email didn't motivate me, and I basically said fuck it, because I knew after this interaction I wasn't going to do it. I let my friends read the email, and they agreed that even if she was frustrated, this wasn't the way to respond, and suggested I write an email to someone above her. I wrote an email to the head of the humanities department, but I ended up not sending it because I felt like I was in the wrong, but I didn't want to be seen as telling on her. The professor I want to talk about is Professor B. She's also my advisor. This woman hates me. She was so nice to me in the beginning, but as I took more of my classes, it only became more and more clear that she doesn't like me. In fall 2019, I had her for food and culture. Everyone in this class complained that she was assigning too many long papers and readings. The class was an elective, and I understand this is college, and college is harder than high school, but when different projects are overlapping each other, the piles of reading to do as if students don't have other classes / life outside of class is ridiculous. Not to mention, she hated when students have differing opinions to her own, and any questions regarding an assignment, she wouldn't answer you. She would tell you to look at the rubric and syllabus, and she enjoyed ripping our papers apart. Of course she did. I'm a decently good academic writer, have no issues writing papers and getting good grades, but I would put so much effort into her papers, and for her to say it's all wrong. Even after having her review my paper and having other classmates reviewing it, I was still getting shit grades on them. They kind of came for her with this, I'm not going to lie. She isn't dating or married, and her family lives far away, so she has no life outside of school. That was me, my first teaching. Our last class, she brought food in from a barbecue place. I ate a salad because I don't eat meat. I went to throw it out at the end of class. The garbage bag was on a desk, and when I threw it out, it fell over, and I went to pick it up. She got annoyed helping me as if I intentionally knocked it over and left it. I would have picked it up all and left without help. But she was annoyed that she helped me. Messy. The next semester when COVID happened, I had her for a different class, a mistake on my part. While we were still in person, she got mad at us because I couldn't access the book, a pirated copy, for a few days, and I hand wrote my homework. My laptop charger died and I couldn't borrow anyone else's charger. We eventually moved online, and that's when I stopped showing up consistently. Toward the end of the semester, I had a one-on-one meeting with her, and the entire time she had her lips pursed, was clearly annoyed, and didn't even want to bother dealing with me. At one point, my audio cut out for a quick second while she was talking, and I asked her to repeat herself, and she got mad at me for that. I'm assuming she thought I wasn't paying attention. I don't know, but I got off that Zoom call and cried. I know I'm partially to blame here. It was not easy. I was not an easy student to deal with, and if I was in their shoes, I would be frustrated too. But when I say Professor B made me loathe school, I went in as a freshman loving it, genuinely saw myself as a forever student, really enjoyed it, and now I hate it and wish I never wasted the money on it. I could have saved myself $70,000 in student debt. I'm only coming from a student point of view, and curious to hear from a teacher's point of view. So I definitely get their frustration. Like, I would be frustrated as well, just because it's frustrating when your students like aren't engaged. Like, that's just a naturally frustrating thing. Even if it's not the student's fault, it's still just a frustrating experience as an educator. But to me, it's like, your priority should always be making it easy for your student to engage, not making it easy for them to get an A, not making their work easy, not having low expectations, but you should be very approachable, and like they should always be comfortable coming to you and like being like, hey, I want to do better. You know what I mean? Like, if a student's coming to you wanting to do better, it is your job to match their energy and treat them super positively. Like, no matter how frustrated you are. And I'm not perfect at this. There's definitely been times that I've been like sassy to kids and regretted it later just because I was frustrated. But so like, I get their frustration, but it doesn't excuse being a dick. Okay, Catholic school in Birmingham, Alabama. When I was in high school 8 years ago, pre-COVID, we were banned for having water bottles because apparently some kids got caught drinking vodka out of water bottles in class. When flu season came around, they shut off water fountains for safety reasons, but we still weren't allowed to have water bottles. Oh my God. So we literally were not allowed to drink water at school. One time I was so thirsty that I literally went to the bathroom and filled a bottle that I had in my backpack with water from the sink. That's so depressing that they literally won't even give you water. Like, that's literally a basic human right. Like, someone call the UN. Like, literally, someone call the UN and be like, hi, American kids are being denied water in schools. There are so many professors that have weird, toxic ideas of rigor that just involve being an asshole. Retweet to that. Okay, this is anonymous as well. Okay, I was about to see what number am I on? I'm tired. I work for a large urban school district with pre-K students as a speech-language pathologist. I serve students both in the community and those that are without a Head Start/pre-K classroom in our main district building. Since the beginning of the school year, there's been a severe staffing shortage and limited space to service students. I've been forced to work in a conference room without kid-appropriate furniture and no access to materials made available to us. Many students have gotten injured, bumped heads on the giant table. I'm envisioning like those big dark wood tables, the big chairs, not like this one, but like, the big rolly chairs, like a conference room, like an old person style conference room, not like a cool millennial workplace conference room. Many students have gotten injured on the giant table or tried climbing on the adult-sized rolling chairs. Anytime myself or another staff member bring these concerns to the attention of our admin, we were dismissed. Instead, priority was given to another staff member and her team who, let's just say, has put in a position of authority and management. I have the hiccups. Or am I just burping? That she had no business being in. She is not an administrator and is being consistently assigned administrative duties. All of this has had a negative impact on students we service and their families. Admin does not care. We have been offered a solution of providing services in a different building across town, but I cannot imagine many of the families being on board, as many do not live close by to this new location or would have to take the bus, or it would be inconvenient for other reasons. I honestly hope things get better next school year and they'll be losing another great service provider. The adult furniture is what's getting me. Another anonymous, I was out for 2 days, let my principal know 3 months in advance, and they were unable to find a sub, so they left my elementary special ed classroom with just the paras for 2 days. Very illegal. Admins would cover general ed classrooms without subs, but my special ed classroom, question mark, question mark, question mark. Bro, it'd be the admin. I'd be telling y'all it'd be the admin. Anonymous from San Francisco. Where do we submit our stories? I'm going to put the link in the chat in a couple seconds, and it's also linked on my page and my link tree on TikTok and my Twitch page. All right, my paras and my myself were being hit and bitten constantly. We complained to our union and we were told that we teach special ed, so we should expect that to happen. Never given extra support. Terrible. How many more left do I have? Yeah, we're almost done. Okay, anonymous. This happened in 7th grade. I'm a senior now, but it stuck with me forever and I still think about it. My name is Madeline. In my algebra class, I had a girl named Madeline, so same name, just spelled differently. Oh, this one's bad. Oh, thank you to the person who put it in the chat. In my algebra class, I had a girl named Madeline, spelled differently. We were pretty good friends, so what happened made me even more upset. My teacher was calling our names to get papers, and she called my name, so I began to walk up there, and in front of the whole class, she said the other Madeline, the smart one, the funny one, the pretty one. What the fuck? Why would you say that to a child? I just laughed it off along with everyone else, but it made me so upset. No one ever believes me when I tell this story because the teacher was a lot of people's favorites, but everyone in that class remembers it perfectly. Was she like referencing something that none of us know about? Like, oh, what the fuck? But to be fair, I see where she's coming from. No, I don't see where she's coming from because the other Madeline was all of those things. No, she's not. We're all perfect in our own ways, especially me. That's literally evil, but she didn't have to do me like that in front of everyone. She didn't have to do you like that at all. All right, won't share the name, but it's a very wealthy independent school and one of the top schools in our state. Lots of other things happen there that wouldn't get news coverage because they'd pay them not to talk about it. All right, content warning, mention of R word and men being gross. So, anonymous from a student, we got a new campus security guard. After him only being on campus for 2 weeks, I still had not seen or met him, 900 student public high school. So when I finally did, I asked him what his name was. His response was, "You don't know me. What are you, special ed or something?" Jail. Immediately jail. My principal didn't do shit about it for 3 weeks after submitting complaints, so I went to a school counselor who has a son with Down syndrome. She got further with the process, and 2 weeks later, the guard literally ran over the special ed teacher with a golf cart, causing her to be hospitalized for a month. Not the security guard, literally running over the special ed teacher. What? What the? Causing her to be hospitalized for a month. He once told me my school sports uniform was inappropriate and that I would get raped for being a little white girl in my college town. This was 5 years ago, and he's only moved up in position. That's crazy. What's his name? Like, what's his address? I just want to talk. Like, I just want to talk. God. Ugh. All right, holy shit. That was so depressing. You can submit your story here. I'm going to send the link right now. Someone already sent it, but I'm going to send it again. Shout out to the person who sent it. There you go. I know they're different links. They'll take you to the same place. It's because you can like shorten it on the Google form. But there's the link to submit anything. Are these real stories? People submitted them to me, so unless they're lying, then yes, they are all real. All of them were submitted. I didn't make any of them up, unless someone else made some of them up. But I wanted to hang out for a couple minutes. I'll hang out on here till 10, so like 10 more minutes. But I wanted to give everybody the chance to share a fun or wholesome memory from school or from teachers or whatever. So I'm just going to talk about some like funny stuff that had happened in my classroom and some cute things that had happened in my classroom. If you guys want it in the chat, either on TikTok or on Twitch, talk about some funny things or some happy things that teachers have done. You're welcome for answering. This will be, because I see you say you just joined, this will be posted. You'll be able to go back and watch the beginning if you want to. Holy shit, I can't believe I've already been on here for 2 hours. But yeah, if anyone wants to share a positive mem in the chat, is the link on your Twitter too? Yes, it is. It's on TikTok and it's on Twitter. It's in my link tree. Yeah. I'll give you guys some time to type your wholesome memories. I'm assuming they're taking a second and you're following directions. One of my students submits every single assignment with a comment that just says, and it's a little emoji. That's so cute. It's cute. I think the chat is frozen. I'm going to get rid of it and fix it. No, not what I wanted. There you go. The chat only froze like one time this time. That's pretty good. Last time it froze like a million gazillion times. Okay, there we go. Okay. I had a student teacher my sophomore year that made such a connection with my class that he was able to stay the whole year with us. I have students in my video of my students dancing Justin Bieber in between classes. Teachers are for real, saved my life in high school. Having young lives in your hands is no joke. I'm so grateful to the great ones I had. Bro, me too. It says I have 0 viewers right now, but I don't think that's right. I think it's just glitching because people are talking in the chat. There it goes now. Going back to all right, miss my high school teachers so much. They were honestly amazing, especially my English teachers that after high school were so kind. My sister passed the year after I graduated. My favorite English teacher from high school now has my little sister for the same class. I'm so happy for her. She struggles in English. That's so cute. I've always had 3 to 5 students in my class during planning periods following me around. I loved the kids that would like stalk me. I would have to kick them out sometimes because I wouldn't be able to focus, but I loved them so much. It was so fun. They called my room during lunch. One kid called it the Heartbreaker Hotel because a bunch of the kids hanging out in there, they like didn't want to go to the lunchroom because of relationship problems. One time I dressed up as the Grinch before winter break and my students just acted like it was normal and it was amazing. One of my students wrote in his weekly journals that he loves my class and he loves annotating his stories with me, and it made me feel like I'm actually doing a good job for my first year. That is beautiful. I was giving a test today and a student looked at me and while I was working and said, "Wow, you're like really smart." One time I showed my students, they asked if I was a good student in high school, and I was like, yeah, I was a good student in high school, and I showed them my grades from 11th grade, because that's the grade I taught, and that's the year I got the best grades, and they were like, ooh, Miss Redacted knows everything. Miss Redacted, can you help us with our homework? I want to copy off you. And I was like, because I got 101 U.S. history. My algebra teacher was the only adult I reached out to about my parents' divorce. He'd make effort to say hi to me every day in high school, even years I didn't have him as a teacher. He's truly one of the reasons I didn't drop out. I was letting my class watch a PG-13 movie and one of my students screamed, "Fuck ass, no," when I laughed so hard. I think it's so funny when kids curse. I love that most of the stories from teachers are just about great moments with our students. Yeah, this is fun. All right. I said I would stay until 10. What time is it? It's 9:55. Okay, I'll stay 5 more minutes because I'm really tired. My German teacher would ask our class for our work schedules so he would come and give us tips. I used to try and do that. One of my students was working at Publix though, and you're like not supposed to tip there, and she wouldn't take it. I was like, you're being really difficult. I met up with one of my former teachers and we both brought each other gifts. Neither of us had any idea until we both pulled them out. That's so cute. She inspired me to become the teacher I am today, and we're great friends now. So grateful for her. I miss teaching. I miss teaching so much. I miss teaching with every fiber of my being. Literally so much I miss teaching. I don't miss getting like mentally abused, but I do miss teaching. My wife dropped off some cables and I sent my student to go pick it up. When he came back to the class, he said, "Bro, you are lucky because I'm to take your girl." That's so funny. I used to love when my teachers' spouses would come to school. Like my photography teacher, sometimes her husband would come to school and I was like, you're like a real person. That's crazy. This isn't wholesome, but just funny. One student changed his Chromebook screen saver to "fuck you," and a teacher told him to get off his games and pay attention. I love kids. They're literally so funny. They're icons, all of them. He was so sweet to her. Literally last week, I came in early Thursday morning, test day, to talk to my calc teacher to get last minute questions answered, and she jokingly said, "Did you sleep last night?" And I said, "Honestly, no, I didn't sleep at all. I also had a stats test." She was so kind. She said to just take it on Monday. I had a college visit on Friday. I was so relieved she cared more about my well-being than her class. She was literally my favorite teachers. I used to feel so bad when like I would be in a situation like that and I'd be like, "It's okay, you can take it another day, you can make it up another time, like family comes first, health comes first." Like I would say something like that and the kid would be so caught off guard. They'd be like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You're not joking?" And I was like, damn, I'm mad that you're so like shocked by kindness, because like that's so sad that it's so shocking to you that like I'm making an accommodation, which just shows that like it's not happening other places. One time, one of my students gave me a whole lesson on a website specifically about doxing, but it was kind of cute and wholesome beyond the doxing part. Somebody wrote on my desk, "Fuck this class." Oh my God. I'm not going to read that out loud, but it's really funny. My viewers are going down. Well, I guess I said I was leaving in a couple minutes, so that would make sense. That's too funny. Kids are hilarious. My Spanish teacher saw me struggling on one of our types of quizzes. He always went out of his way to help me and told me he would basically grade me less harsh on that quiz type because he knew I knew the material. I just struggled with that specifically. That's really nice of him. Please tell me this is a history live. It's not, but next week it will be. Next week it'll be history. I think I'm going to talk about the Black Panther Party next week. That's my plan. I haven't made the lesson yet. I want to stream twice a week, but I literally just don't have the time. It's not that I don't have time to stream. It's like the making the materials of it. Like these slides are pretty easy to make. It only took me like an hour or so just to like read them and copy and paste them and stuff and format everything. But the history ones take me like 2 hours. And so like I would be doing those once a week, but like I just don't have the time to be planning it. I'm trying to figure out a solution to that right now. I'm trying to figure out if I can just like pay someone to make these slides, because these slides, like I already picked everything. It would be pretty easy just to copy and paste it so that I can focus on more of the history stuff, but I don't really know. I do want to become an affiliate on Twitch. If you need a break, stick with the teacher horror stories. We love these. I love these too, but like the history ones like fuel me. Like that's the problem, is I want to do them. Like, I don't want to take a break. Like, I need to, but I don't want to. I want to do both. I want to do both every day. I wish I didn't have to work, like, to support myself. You'd be a partner, like, instantly because you have such a following. So it has, like, it has a list of things that I need to do to become an affiliate. And the one that I haven't done is, like, you have to stream like 7 days a month. So I need to start coming on here and just talking, because it's just like not realistic for me to like prep for that many days. So I need to just do more like short streams where I'm just like chatting. Yeah. So yeah, it's stream 8 hours. I already had that one because my streams are really long. But yeah, the 7 days, I just need to make a better point of like in the evenings, just coming on here for like 5-10 minutes, because that'll do it, you know? It's just like I just need to put a reminder in my phone or something like that, because I should forget. Another wholesome mention, my student emailed me thanking her for prepping her so much in such a short amount of time after I've been feeling really bad about not making them feel ready. Made my day today. That's the best feeling, when you feel like you've been doing a shitty job and then a kid is like, you've been great. You could maybe even play a web browser game or something and stream it. I'm not a game person. It's not for me, but maybe. All right, it's 10 o'clock. I have not eaten dinner, but this was super, super fun. I loved this. I always love this. Thank you to everyone that was here. Thank you to everybody that submitted stories. Thank you to everybody on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, come hang out with us on Twitch next time. If you're on Twitch, thank you for being here. Everybody have a great night. Sleep tight. Love yourself. Drink water. Move your body in a way that feels good, all the things. What I would always say to my students, I'd say, love you, gonna miss you, see you soon. Don't do anything to add or subtract from the population. But I'm sure some of you could add to the population. It would be great. Love you, good night, bye.